Primes and smarty. Oh, I don't know, man. I was good at bullshitting. Is what I would say. I don't know if I was smart, but I was good at bullshitting. So there's that, which I guess is a skill. Okay. Let's see. Let's get cracking on this. Hmm. Sorry, I'm like remembering all kinds of things now. I'm like, oh. All things are coming to my mind. Yeah, so we got an article. I'll read the article, then we'll jump into a topic. If you want to come on, that'll be great. If not, that's cool. Polywoggy, hey Polywoggy, my undergrad was also philosophy. We should make a philosophy gang. What will philosophy gang do? Like, what kind of gang would that be? What would they get up to? Is what I wonder. I think they'd be paralyzed by indecision. Is what they want to talk it out, no matter what. Bullshitting is 99% of college. Yeah, I can't. Okay, so let's jump into it. Oh, actually, wrong screen. Excuse me. And yeah, there we go. Oh, fuck me. Stop playing. Ugh. I hate those videos that automatically fucking play. That shit kills me. Anyway, Trey. Hello, RC Mongler. You have been following me for a crazy long time. Yet I have no idea who you are. Anyway, thank you for being here. Cricket style J. Spray painting gigantic essays onto buildings. Yeah, hello, RC Mongler. Thank you for following me for so freaking long. I have no idea who you are. I have not a clue. Okay. So we'll do it. Thank you all for being here. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Rudy Giuliani and many others, right? Who are kind of being rehabilitated now by TV, and like there's a bit of a pattern here. I'm wondering, is this okay? Should we be bothered by this or not bothered by it, right? So here we go. Let's have a little chat. Rudy Giuliani's mask sync performance is a new TV low. The real horror of Giuliani's unmasking is that it actually isn't shocking at all. Shows have been laundering the reputations of unsavory politicians for years. All right. Oh my God. Is this? I'll be weird. Oh my God. Stop being weird. Okay. Anyway, The Masked Singer premiered in the winter of 2019, before the world shut down for the pandemic. A reality competition aiming for the extremely bizarre. It felt like the type of television series one would find playing in the background of a dystopian future. Thankfully, with 2 cycles per TV year, the show has mostly faded into the background of our cultural consciousness. That is until Deadline reported that the first taping of the new season, one of the celebrities' masks came off, revealing his identity, Rudy Giuliani. The surprise upset judges singer Robin Thicke and comedian Ken Jeong so much they reportedly walked off in protest. Yeah, so I guess you guys don't know. There's the Masked Singer. Oh, thank you, CDN, for gifting us up to RC Mongler. Oh, that's really kind of you. Thank you. But yeah, so the Masked Singer is like a TV show. I've never watched it, but like I've seen like clips, I guess, right? Where the a celebrity comes out in some sort of get up, right? Like a furry suit, and then they sing a song, and then I guess the judge is supposed to guess who they are, or is it just like, are they judging them up for their singing abilities? I forget. I don't know, but that's what it does. So yeah, and Rudy Giuliani will be on the next season, right? So they were taping it, and he revealed himself as Rudy Giuliani, and then 2 of the judges walked off, right? So in case you look confused, there we go. Giuliani is known for being a colorful political operator. He was willing to perform on Saturday Night Live in drag back when such a thing was considered highly transgressive. But the ex-mayor of New York is no longer just... Giuliani actually does a lot of drag. Like, a lot of drag. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just saying he just does it a lot. He did the one time with Saturday Night Live, but he's done it. He's taken many opportunities to dress up in female clothing, but not out there. But the ex-mayor of New York is no longer just a failed presidential candidate with a fading political career. His activity, oh my God, I'm sorry, I can't talk today. His activities as the one-time personal lawyer for former President Donald Trump have turned him into a national disgrace. Just off the top of my head, I know it's not off the top of the writer's head. I'm sure it's not. He tried to derail Robert Mueller's investigation. He allegedly attempted to mastermind the behind-the-scenes campaign to discredit Joe Biden, the scandal that led to Trump's first impeachment, which I guess was against his son. He then allegedly tried to undermine the 2020 election, first via a plot involving illegitimate electors, and then by claiming phantom election fraud. Giuliani may be something of a laughingstock, but he is not a cute politician whose career is finished. He is the subject of criminal inquiries that range from violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act to meddling in the 2020 election. Giuliani disputes these allegations, of course. Yeah. God, he's just like, look at his fucking face. This guy's like pruning up. Like, ugh. He's so disgusting. I'm sorry. Giuliani's kind of he's kind of vile. Oh, he's vile. Ugh. Anyway, but the real horror of Giuliani's unmasking is that it actually isn't shocking at all. Shows have been laundering the reputations of unsavory politicians, sometimes inadvertently, for years. Jimmy Fallon says he now regrets bringing Trump onto the Tonight Show in 2016 and chummily ruffling his hair. The Tonight Show airs on NBC. Okay, whatever. Shows such as Dancing with the Stars, which appeals to a red state right-wing voting bloc, have been much worse. Fox News racist demagogue Tucker Carlson was treated like an everyday celebrity, with his acolytes tuning in droves to vote for him to keep dancing. The series pushed those boundaries to the limit when it brought on former Trump spokesman Sean Spicer to national protests. Though the show managed to survive that choice, and Spicer lasted much longer than producers anticipated, longtime host Tom Bergeson, who publicly criticized the show for casting Spicer, was fired. Spicer's casting seemed to cross the line, with many Americans arguing he moved the Overton window of acceptability when it came to publicly lying. But even Spicer never attempted to steal a presidential election. Like Dancing with the Stars, this was not the first time the Masked Singer is playing with this kind of fire. In the spring of 2020, viewers were treated to the surreal image of former vice presidential candidate Alaska Governor Sarah Palin being unmasked in a very uncomfortable and jarring scene. Palin had also not tried to steal an election. She was more a precursor of things to come. Unmasking was less a catalyst of protest and more of a moment of profound confusion. Who decided this was a good idea? Which brings us to Giuliani, a man embroiled in multiple ongoing investigations. What on earth were the Masked Singer producers thinking? Giuliani in a fuzzy costume isn't fun, nor is it good entertainment. This is beyond a lapse in judgment. It borders on moral turpitude. No wonder 2 of the judges walked off. Clearly, the rehabilitation trend has... okay, so I want to pause here on the judge thing, because apparently one of the judges is Jenny McCarthy? Like, Jenny McCarthy is a fucking judge here? Like, hold on, let me, like, check this, because I saw this before. Jenny McCarthy, masked... Yeah. She's a fucking judge here. Jenny McCarthy is an American actress, model, television host, satellite radio broadcaster, and one of the 4 panel judges. Jenny McCarthy, this dog shit human being, Jenny McCarthy, is a judge there. Like, what? What the fuck? Jenny McCarthy. Yes, like, I'm saying her name over and over again. And in case you don't know, she's like a super duper anti-vax individual. She's like one of the she is one of the founders of the this modern incarnation of the anti-vax movement. She's been like beating on this drum for years. Jenny McCarthy, right? All the lies that she has told, like, she gets on, and so like it's kind of like burying the lead. Like, sure, they're gonna have Rudy Giuliani on, But fucking Jenny McCarthy is a judge for the show. She's still drawing a goddamn paycheck. Why is she allowed why is this woman anywhere? I don't get it. Like, I saw that. Like, again, I don't watch the show, so I saw it somewhere where it was mentioned and some news and another news article I guess I was reading, but that she, like, so Rudy Giuliani unmasked, the other two judges fuck off, and she sticks around and talks to him. But I'm like, wait a minute, why is Jenny McCarthy there? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Is she better or worse than Whoopi Goldberg law? She is much worse than Whoopi Goldberg. Much worse. And that's saying something because Whoopi Goldberg's pretty dog shit. But alright, I'm gonna try. Clearly this rehabilitation trend has truly gone too far. It was concerning enough when American Idol invited a White House advisor, Kellyanne Conway's daughter Claudia, on their show last year, and a move that felt exploitative at best. Yeah, because Kellyanne Conway was feuding with her daughter, and Kellyanne Conway herself is another dog shit human being. In case we forgot that, like, she was one of the worst. Kellyanne Conway was the one who came up with the term alternative facts. Like, that was her. She did that, and then became a huge meme. But no, she's just like an unrepentant liar. Oh man. Jesus. But I don't think anyone's tried to rehabilitate Kellyanne. She's just been beyond it. Just everyone hated this woman, hated her. And it's weird because I didn't know her, but like I'd seen her for years beforehand on like news segments, making the rounds, and she was just like an ordinary political operative. But man, did she go downhill? Anyway, okay, so the Fox and the Masked Singer may have thought a desperate move like this could help the show stay relevant. Instead, it looks more like out of touch than ever. To be clear, the Giuliani scandal is likely to end the Masked Singers is unlikely to end the Masked Singer series or any of its dystopian weirdo spin-offs. It has spin-offs? Yeah, spin-offs? However, it should be a wake-up call for fans. Is this what we want on our television? Like, with the election, we have a choice here. Turn it off. This thing has spin-offs? Fox Masked Dancer doubles down on zany mask. Okay. Sure. Okay. Alright. Fair enough. Alright. Oh, I guess I'll take that one. Alright, so scrolling back up. Yeah, so this is the thing we're going to be talking about. Should these people be like banned from TV? Right, like Rudy Giuliani, who is Trump's lawyer and fixer, sort of. Not really. But it was Trump's lawyer and bulldog. Should he be allowed in polite society? Should Tucker Carlson be allowed? Now, this isn't canceling. Again, these people have massive like platforms. Tucker Carlson, like, you can't cancel him. Like, it's not a thing. But is it like, it's like no big deal when they come on things like this, right? When Tucker, who is a deep racist, right? When he like goes on Dancing with the Stars and hangs out and shit, like he's not a demagogue, like he's not literally pushing for fascism, right? Like that guy. Is that okay? But yeah, so can I dance, Crown? You asking me that? No, I cannot dance. I can assure you I cannot. Okay. So yeah. Anyways, if you guys want to come on and talk about it, exclamation open the chat. Let's that this is an open walk-on panel. Honest members like you, yes, you may participate. Join the Discord server and go into the rowboat waiting room so you'll be let in the Discord link for your convenience. We'd love to have you, right? Yeah. So if you guys want to talk about this, whether it makes sense to have a guy like Rudy Giuliani on, or like Sean Spicer. I was like a little less disturbed by Sean Spicer when he came on because he was like Sean Spicer. I don't know. He seems like more harmless than anything else. He seems like he's just like struggling to survive out there, man. Like I don't know. I don't. Seems like a. I don't know. I don't see him as very threatening. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. So here I am. There we go. Up there, that's me. If you guys want to come and join and talk about this, great. We got one already. Hey Eli, how are you?
Here I am.
Eli. Well, I'm sure Eli's getting himself set up and be with us in a moment.
Hello?
Hey? Hello? Yeah.
Hello?
Hello? Hi?
Somehow I can't hear you, and I have no idea why.
Okay. You should leave the room and come back, but you can't hear me. Oh boy.
I cannot hear you. Let me disconnect real quick.
He did what I asked. Great. But yeah. Let's see. All right, pull him back in. Oops, wrong one. Hey, can you hear me now? Hello?
All right.
Still can't hear
Can
me?
you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello? Oh, this is unfortunate.
Really weird.
Um,
Oh wait, here we go. Here we go. I can hear you now.
did you not have the volume on?
I don't know what happened. I guess I plugged in my headphones and now I'm able to hear you.
Okay. And then, well, maybe because you just, maybe that's your sound settings and, well, anyway, that's fine. The headphones
No
help.
idea.
So, hey, do we have a mod who can go into the waiting room and get that worked out? Eli, you got a camera?
Oh yes, I do. Hold on. Let me turn on my camera. There we go. There we go.
Okay. Or there we went. Okay. Work on that camera. It went to black
Yeah,
again.
well, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm switching to my other. I'm trying to get it to switch to my other camera real quick. Oh wait, hold on. Let me close my OBS. I'm not gonna stream myself tonight. So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
oh, there we go. All right. This way, since I'm not streaming myself, even though I very much should, I'm just gonna have my own camera.
All right. Let's put you on screen. Okay, yeah. So, and other people can join us as well. Exclamation for open in chat if you want to join in. But okay, so what do you think about TV doing this? Like,
TV kicking off Rudy Giuliani
not just Rudy Giuliani. All like we got a whole list of individuals, who get into bad behavior. Like there was Trump. Right, Trump was clearly a monster. Right, in 2016.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Fallon invited him on the Tonight Show, I guess. Yeah, he invited him on, but Trump was clearly like he started off his presidential campaign, as a racist, right? You know, Trump made it very clear from the start. But like Jimmy Fallon, like pretended like this guy was, he's a cool guy. I'm just gonna have him on, and we're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna ruffle his hair. It's gonna be exciting, you know. He like humanizing people like that. Do you think that they should do things like that? Or Tucker Carlson again is the other example. When he was on Dancing with the Stars. Do you think it's a problem that like these people need to be confronted constantly, right?
So I do think that's a problem. So We talk within my inner circle and what have you, like within my Discord server stuff, we have conversations about this kind of stuff all the time. Like, should we, give people who are literal fascists, should we be giving these people the time of day? I have these kind of discussion all the time with my following and people, and I'm kind of on the fence about it. Like, I guess it would depend in this case because of the fact that you are like, a media figure with a huge viewer audience. Like you gotta be conscious of who you allow like on your show and shit. Like it's one thing if one of us, like people who we don't have as many viewers as these huge people that own entire own like half of a freaking channel or some shit. I don't know how TV works or what have you. um it's different when we do it. It's another thing because like at the end of the day, like not as many people are watching us as there are people that are watching like people like Joe Rogan and like national freaking TV. I think that right there was a problem, is the fact that these people, they bring on Trump to laugh at him, but the thing is like to laugh at him and his like constituents, but the thing is like his following is just going to see that as platforming. And again, you're just platforming these people and allowing them to spread their message. And then you're going to be surprised when he wins the 2016 election. Like, come on now. Like you should not we should really understand like the seriousness that comes with platforming people. Not everything needs to really be a joke. Sometimes we need to really like hunker down and take it seriously and say, hey, I'm not gonna bring this fascist onto my station or onto my show. And it might even speak volumes if somebody like if these people with big platforms and what have you, huge gigantic platforms that some of us could only like dream of having, if like they were to say, hey, I'm specifically not bringing this jackass on because they're a jackass. I know some free speech warriors might disagree with me there, but
Okay. I imagine so. Um, but just pulling back for a second, you said something that I thought was interesting. Um, do you think, like, why does it matter that Joe Rogan has so many viewers, right? Like, if Joe Rogan was speaking to 5 people or 5 million, um, wouldn't the damage that he does be the same?
so yeah, that's
I
a
mean,
that's a
he would be a bad actor. Like, I get the damage would be more if he has more people watching, but like
right.
his ideas, like his ideas are just as toxic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just along the lines of, because I feel I totally get like what you're saying. I totally feel that. By the way, nice White Lantern shirt, bro. You making me jealous with these shirts, man.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but the thing about like platforming and giving a voice to people who probably should not, have one is, I mean, Joe Rogan has like a huge following. It's more likely that like there's a greater chance, I guess, of harm being done from somebody like Joe Rogan doing it than someone like, say, me doing it. Like, with that being said, I still am not gonna do it because, like, I would consider myself to be a person who has some form of character and redeemable qualities. So, like, I wouldn't do that. And I understand that, like, even though I don't have that big of a platform, like, I still understand that, like, my voice carries weight. I do have some form of influence, albeit rather small when compared to, Joe Rogan. But me personally, I'm still gonna take those precautions and say, maybe I should not do this. This is not a very wise use of my platform. Now, Joe Rogan is probably not gonna think that. He's just doing like whatever he thinks is gonna get him views and shit like that. Um, but I get what you're saying about how, it's the principle of the matter, regardless of like the size of the individual.
Mhm.
But I think we could all probably agree that like it's gonna be a lot more harmful when Joe Rogan does it than like if someone like Tiny Little Eli, myself, were to freaking do it. Because I'm not reaching as many people necessarily in like in one go, basically.
You have
You know what I mean?
100,000 followers. I don't know. It seems like you're reaching
Hey,
quite a.
listen, I have 100,000 followers, but only 145 Twitch followers. I can only get like 3 in my streams at a time. Like I don't feel like I'm like a. But I mean, when I make TikTok videos, sometimes when I make TikTok videos, like I'm astounded as to how far some of them do go, and how one time I was able to get a racist person fired from their job by posting a TikTok about them and the things that they have done and what have you. Like, I mean, and I'm surprised whenever it happens. But like I was specifically talking about, like, if I were to do some stuff like that, like on my Twitch or my YouTube or what have you, where I have like a smaller following. That's what I meant by like what
Yeah,
I
no,
But
I
even
get
then,
you.
but even then, I still try to make sure I put out like the right things, and because I want those to be just as big as my TikTok one day.
Let's let in our other guest, Wild Techno. Hello, Techno. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? I'm good.
Yeah. So what are your initial thoughts on all this?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, right? I think this is a nuanced topic and should be treated as such. I'm a fairly liberal Democrat, but I do also believe in sort of what Christopher Hitchens was talking about when he was talking about free speech in the Canadian Parliament so long ago, in that even the stupidest, most far right, most insane person that you've ever met has put some thought into what they're trying to tell you, has some ideas that they spent some time thinking about. And also, when you engage with them rhetorically or online or on Twitter or something like that, you yourself are forced to re-justify your own positions. And so it's worth having some exposure to like even the absolute stupidest morons, even the Nazis. And that is one of the justifications for free speech that's given in sort of like the Enlightenment text and that sort of thing. So the second part. Oh, so go ahead. Go ahead.
No. You finish. I thought you were done. Go ahead, please.
And so the second thing is that it's nuanced depending on who it is, right? Like if we want to say that Tucker Carlson shouldn't go on Dancing with the Stars for reasons of platforming, well, Tucker Carlson already has a platform, right? And there's significant overlap between the types of like old white people that watch Dancing with the Stars and the types of old white people that watch Fox News. So banning him from those types of entertainment shows is probably very low effect. Someone like Rudy Giuliani, who has largely sort of disappeared off the face of the earth because, he sued all those times to try to, stop the electoral process, et cetera, with absolutely no evidence. Platforming someone like him is a lot more impactful because you're sort of saying that this person who did all these bad things and we essentially don't want to see him anymore, we don't think he's relevant anymore, you're giving him that shred of relevance that he might want. So I think it's much worse to platform like a Trump or a Rudy Giuliani than to platform like a Tucker Carlson, who you can't really stop Tucker Carlson at this point without getting him fired from Fox News, which is impossible. So I think there's a lot of nuance here. And I think it's up to the platform. I'm, like everyone else, I'm really disappointed in Joe Rogan for only platforming like people that I personally don't think are very intelligent, even though they may be well credentialed. And I guess I'll kind of stop there because that's pretty much the whole point I want to make.
So, okay. One, I actually wanted to. I brought Joe Rogan, but like I kind of wanted to focus on another area, like in terms of elected either elected politicians or people who served within like the Trump administration or something like that. Like I want to focus on that one because I think that's a bit more interesting than talking about Joe Rogan for the millionth time. That's my fault for bringing him up. But beyond that, you were saying, you were saying that the idea for free speech is that you get to sharpen your arguments against them, right? And which is interesting. I thought that was a good point. However, that doesn't apply here, right? Like you don't
Yeah,
Dancing with the
that's true.
Stars. They're not discussing their ideas. The Masked Singer, right? They're not having some sort of detailed policy analysis with any of these people. They just have them on, and then they look cute. Then
Mhm.
they're playing around like with the audience. People who are unfamiliar with them think, okay, well, this is just another celebrity. Maybe it's someone I'm not unfamiliar with them, but they must be just the same as all the others. Or the people who do know him, get to have a laugh with them, like, maybe Rudy isn't so bad. He has a sense of humor. Tucker Carlson, like, look at him on the dance floor, right? He can't be that bad. So, like, we don't actually get that opportunity. If we did get the opportunity to dissect their ideas, then I'd be more for what you're saying, right? I'd definitely be more behind you. But we're not,
But we're
right?
having this panel right now. Like we're having the discussion right now. Like
I'm not with them.
not with them, right? Obviously, like we can't call up Tucker Carlson and have the discussion with Tucker. But again, like Tucker is not some sort of evil. I mean, he kind of is, but he's not some sort of evil like moon Nazi, right? He is a human being, and he has put some thought into his ideas, or like at least some think tank has paid him to put their well thought out ideas out. And it's worthwhile just being reminded that these people are actually people. But I would agree that like there is this branding element to it that does kind of disgust me, right? Like you're saying like it's like putting a new coat of paint on the old Volvo, the old racist Volvo or something, and that is quite dangerous. So I think my point is that I think it's really nuanced, and you have to, with each guest that you have on, or each guest that you're thinking about having on, you have to think about the ramifications and make your own value judgments. And
I don't know if
it's
people
worth thinking
need
about.
reminders that these people are human, right? Like, I think what they need reminder is just how dangerous their ideas are. Tucker Carlson is a dangerous individual. Like, what he does to our democracy is actively making it worse, making society more dangerous, making it more cruel. He's done a lot for that. Yeah. How many?
Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's kind of both though, right? It's like he doesn't think that he's dangerous.
I think he does. I
He's
think he's
probably
smart
not a
enough.
complete
I think he
psychopath,
knows.
right?
I think he knows exactly what he's doing. That guy,
Okay.
he's
I
very
mean, yeah, if you think that,
self-aware.
then don't put him on TV anywhere else, right? Obviously. But it's worth thinking about, like, how can a human get to that state? Like, I have a lot of questions about the entire Trump administration. Like, how did the Trump administration even function, even if it barely functioned? And it's interesting to me to see how the information is flowing through the media and that sort of thing. So just being reminded of all that stuff, I think, has some value. Although I totally agree that, like, just putting them on, like, Dancing with the Stars or something like that is not helpful or healthy or interesting.
Let's go to Ori, who's here. Hello, hi, Ori.
Hey, yeah, the big thing that I would always want to hit on when these people are out there, because I think what you said, Techno, I do agree for most people. Humanizing the opposition is a good thing. I think too often we demonize the other side and then we can't have any conversations. We can't grow with them. We can't understand where they're coming from. But for people like the politicians that try to like circumvent the things that they did without ever actually showing any repentance for or suffering any like repercussions, this I think only leads to bad things. It only leads to them being able to repeat those things without seeing consequences again. And I think this has been brought up for like when people talk about like Twitch people talking with other like really quote unquote like controversial people. I think it should be known and brought up that, hey, if you're going to come on Dancing with the Stars, before you come on, we're going to make it known there, like, hey, this guy had some trouble past. Giuliani was literally pushing for the big lie, trying to like literally overturn an election. So the only time I think that they should be allowed, I think it would be best, is if whenever they're on there, it's like spouted to everyone. It's like, hey, just so you know, don't forget this person did this thing. Don't forget that, especially at least within like it's been what, a year. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's how
like
I
when
view it.
he's, I feel like if some guy like appears on one of those shows, you know how like they have like the banner underneath the person that says like what
Exactly.
their name is and what they did. Like Rudy Giuliani, confirmed fascist, like participate, but then it like it keeps going, like it keeps moving to like the left, like confirmed fascist, assisted with an insurrection, is literally the Penguin from the Batman movies. Like, and it just keeps going. So I'm sorry, but that's like my hot take about Rudy Giuliani. The dude's the literal fucking Penguin from the Batman movies, and you can't convince me otherwise. So the fact that he like melted
Danny
like
DeVito,
on,
yeah.
yeah, like he melted like on.
Your
He's
camera,
literally
yeah,
the
that was
Penguin.
good.
He's literally the Penguin. Cannot convince me otherwise.
All right.
But because I mean I don't see any other reason why they're going on these things other than just like try and gain some more acceptance in the community. So it's like we know that they're doing this for that reason, to like scrub their name. I don't know why we would allow them to do it, unless I don't know what they're getting, what Dancing with the Stars is getting with having them on. I mean, it's a big name for them, I guess. I mean, but he's controversial. But I don't know why they would do it.
Because they do it because of the controversy. They do it because controversy, you know, it sparks views. You have a controversial person on TV, and like it seems as though people will watch it just so they could sit there just out of spite and sit there and say, I hate Tucker Carlson, I hate Rudy Giuliani. It's like, okay, well, why are you watching it? But it's really weird because that's a thing that like legitimately happens. People hate watch my content. They hate watch without a doubt. I'm sure people hate watch Prime like all the time. I'm sure Prime has a few hate watchers, and so do other, you know, content creators. People for some weird reason hate watching. Like it farms views. It gets you those views. It gets you those ratings. What better way to get those ratings than to have like, you know, the most controversial motherfuckers on the planet on your show?
Yeah, so I understand that, but what blows my mind is when we talk also about Tucker Carlson, wasn't it just a year or two ago there was like a big moment where he was losing like a couple sponsors, like a big couple sponsors pulled from his show?
Really? I don't know if I heard about that. Please educate me on that. I don't know if
I could have sworn it had to do around the time when he was like making those really weird like immigrant comments about like immigrants making America dirty and stuff like that. That's where I thought that was coming from.
That explains why I got it confused. That explains why I got it confused because Ben Shapiro said the same shit. You know, it all just kind of blends together when it.
But when I see these corporations pull from these kind of people, I'm thinking like, why would a company actively choose to put these controversial figures in place unless they think like it's like, oh, it's not going to cause too much of a ruffle for us? Because I mean, if they're worried about that, as soon as it gets revealed, wouldn't they be worried that people like, why the fuck are you having Giuliani on your show or something like that? Like that seems what's weird to me.
So I think, yeah, I get that. Like, I think part of it is that, like, you know, they don't really care. I think that's really what it is that they don't really care. Like, these corporations, they just see that bottom dollar. And so, and also, you got to understand, like, and I'm pretty sure you do understand this, but, you know, the right and the demagogues on the right, like, they have some batshit crazy crazy circles and crazy fans. People that like, as soon as you say that you support President Trump, they will like give you half of their life savings and like a free handy or some shit like that. Like just instantly, as soon as you make any sort of like notion that you like, adore, love Trump or what have you, maybe they're banking on that shit too. Because the thing is, once those people start liking your shit, it's like a roach infestation. They don't leave. They don't go away. Like they're stuck with you. They're like hardcore fans for life. Yeah, hell yeah, brother. This guy said Trump was pretty one time. I'm gonna watch his stuff from now on. And then, but literally, this guy is talking about how he wants to like, you know, eat babies on a daily, but because he said he likes Trump.
So you think it's almost like when corporations go, I forget what it's called. It's called like woke capitalism. Like when they like put out things that they think that will get like more left leaning people. It's kind of like that. They're just pandering to the right. It's like, oh, people like Trump, so we'll get it. Okay.
It's grifting. They all do it. It's just grifting on a huge fucking scale. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think another thing that's worth bringing up is that also like there's these alt-right and right-wing pipelines that people go through, and by giving these people voices, right, you're introducing like people are gonna, even the haters are gonna do like a Google search, and if you look at like Brittany from like Politically Provoked, she said she used to be like a liberal, and then she came across like the Little Timmy video, and then she turned into an absolute complete moron, right? And she started that's
hilarious.
Like really dangerous, right? And that's one of the like super downsides of free speech at all with the internet, right? You can get into these situations where people who don't necessarily have strong foundations for what they believe can be made to believe almost anything. And
Mhm.
that's like the core of the problem. It's like it's not just that these people are kind of evil and kind of insane. It's also that other people, like millions of Americans, will
Other people
literally
believe
like go
them,
to
and they
one.
believe their
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah, like they just believe literal whatever, right? Like the
Yeah,
Q people are like literally believing in the most insane things that I've heard in a long time, and
you mean to
there's
tell
like
me I can't?
thousands of them.
You mean to tell me I can't sell you on the idea of systemic racism and the fact that things might be bigger than you see them, but
Yeah,
I can sell you on the idea that there are literal vampires in office who eat babies? I
yeah.
I I I now I stun locked myself. I can't even
It
I
melts my
can't.
brain too, dude. Like I'm watching like Shark and stuff, and he's like talking to these crazy people, and I'm sitting there becoming angry in my
Mhm.
bed in my jammies, and I'm just like,
I try not to
what
get
do I
angry
do
because I know that
with
that's
my
what they
life?
want me to do, even though like,
Yeah,
at the end of the day they don't know that I'm angry. But I don't want to give like I don't want to put that satisfaction out into like the ether, you know? Like cuz I feel like it's still going to reach them some kind of way. But uh yeah, I wanted to add something to what you were saying about people who are, how should I say, I guess you're getting at like, so like the grifter sort of mentality of people, like I was kind of getting at, if I'm picking up what you're putting down at all, like people say shit and they don't, their ideas are not as fleshed out because they heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody, and it just travels down this political grapevine until it's no longer, what it where it like originated from. It no longer represents its origin. Like we see that with Black Lives Matter. Like people were saying all this shit about Black Lives Matter, like it gives money to Democrats, and it's a Marxist organization because the leaders are Marxists and all this other kind of shit that just trickled down the grapevine, even though like the original point of Black Lives Matter was, hey, we want Black lives to matter in the eyes of the law and in law enforcement as much as white people do. We want to end the police brutality that seems to go like unchecked uh, with the black community, like with the black community experiences, right? So I I find it funny that like I've noticed lately a very it's a very worrying trend to me that and I hope this isn't too much off topic. The idea that being a leftist is when one has empathy, or being a leftist is when when a white person realizes that non-white people, non-cis hetero white people are just as valid as they are, and that's where leftism stops. It's not about, it's not about, questioning, hierarchies and corrupt systems and what have you. It's just, oh, I'm no longer racist. Is this leftism? I'm no longer sexist. Is this leftism? And I've come across that a lot, especially on my side of the woods on TikTok. I see people that call themselves leftists, but really they're just neoliberal. And that's it. And these people infiltrate leftist spaces, leftist movements, and they they make our movements look very bad, look very shitty, they make us look very uneducated in the face of the right. And these people are easily swayed. I like what you said about the people being easily swayed. They are so easily swayed by the right. I'm sorry, but and I'm speaking from personal experience from someone that I did come in contact with recently. If you're gonna sit here and say that you were a leftist, but that you were also unironically watching Steven Crowder and that you think he's unironically funny, get out. The door is right behind me. You can leave. You were never here. You were
Steven,
never fucking here. Okay? You were never here. Get out. Leave. Goodbye.
is
Um,
his show supposed to be like humorous? I always thought it
Yeah, he's
was.
a comedian. Didn't you know that? You
yeah,
couldn't tell from his videos.
literally, that's what happens with all of these demagogues. They try out for comedy. They
I must be
realize that they
new
have
here.
two jokes that they just cycle in and out, and that they change in and out all the fucking time. They never get any new material, never get any new ammo. It's the same shit, and it's just, or it's either the same shit or it's the same shit rehashed. And then because they're not funny, because their funny is based off of like, you know, white cis hetero superiority and shit, they go off and they say, well, I'm a political pundit now. It's like, sure, motherfucker, sure. Yeah, you were totally a comedian, motherfucker. You had so many people laughing, just rolling in the aisle all the time. And that's Steven Crowder. And who else is like that? I can't
That's
think of
like
any
a
off the top of
comedian
my
from the
head,
right.
but yeah.
I mean,
The-
people that he's had on his show. Who's those? I'm trying to remember who was on his show. I'm just blanking. Ah, crap. I think you brought him up before because you talked about this guy that he's like a right lane guy. He's kind of like a, oh gosh, he was just on that debate show. I'm blanking. You brought him up before though. I'll have to
Good
find
lord.
him.
Now I'm embarrassed. now I'm embarrassed. You're quoting me, and
If anyone remembers, it was there was a debate, a duo debate with like Riley versus, I don't know if you guys know Real Justice Warrior or the actual Justice Warrior.
Wait, I think I've heard of that controversy, but I have not.
I can't remember.
I have not.
It was like
I
a
have not
2v1
looked
debate.
into it.
Riley was
Yeah.
talking to them too, but I can't remember the other guy's name now. I'm completely blanking, but I'll try and look it up.
But you know, they're all over Twitter.
Yeah.
These middle-aged white guys, these middle-aged to like slightly older white guys, you know, the salt and pepper faced white guys, ones with the gray and black hair, that they think that they're funny, whereas their jokes consist of like okay, I'll give them 3 topics. It's either women are not funny / my wife, who it's like, okay, just get a divorce if you hate your wife so much. You know, hating on trans people, and then being canceled by the quote unquote woke mob. That's all these people talk about. That's all they think they're funny, but really they're not. It's just these same 3 jokes hashed over and over and over and over again. It's like waking up every morning and just eating, like for like the previous month, all you did every morning was eat just one piece of toast with nothing on it. That's how these people act with like their comedy. Okay, I should say 3 pieces of toast because I gave them 3 different things that they talk about. The same 3 pieces of toast that are so fucking bland that you've been eating for God knows how long, no sustenance whatsoever, and you think you're a chef, or in this case, you think you're a comedian. You're not. You have no material. It sucks. And also something I didn't get to say earlier because of my incoherent rambling, was this is just kind of how I feel about like how we should respond to or interact with fascists. Once you do a fascism, you should not be welcomed openly into the public. Like, you can be humanized and shit, sure, fine. But like, because I do believe people can be rehabilitated. But once you do something like to the level that like Trump and his campaign and his supporters have done, that level of like fascism that they still continue to do, and it's only because we give them the space to fucking do it. You shouldn't be just welcomed into society until you show like, it's got to be like 10 years down the road and you've shown like reasonable change once you've gotten out of like Arkham Asylum. That's it. Just, I'm for kicking fascists out of society.
You don't think there should be any, like, even if they show any repentance or they like repay for their crimes or whatever they
like
did?
Like if they show, okay, maybe I was exaggerating earlier, and I say this all the time. I tend to do that. I'm an emotional person. I exaggerate all the time. But like, you know, if they show repentance, sure. If they start to show like, again, it has to be like, you know, not this virtue signaling shit. I'm talking, this person has done like a complete 180 on their shit. Then yeah, sure, maybe. I'm all for believing that people can change. But like, if all they're gonna say is, go home, folks, you're great people, you're all my special people, but now is not the time. You need to go home, folks. Go back to your families. If that's what they're saying, and they never said sorry, fuck them. Throw him in the garbage. Throw the whole fascist away until he learns. Put him in timeout until he learns. earns his lesson.
Yeah, I would agree. For the most part, I would agree. I think the rehabilitation can definitely happen, and I think that we can use media sources to do that. But it has to be shown after they've like shown. So they have to have taken some form of like repentance for what they've done, or shown that they know what they did was wrong in some manner.
I need to know if you read. If you read C is for Consent, Rudy Giuliani. I need to know if you read that book. Otherwise, no repentance for you, sir.
Oh, sorry. You can go techno. I did want to say one thing that we kind of went away from earlier when you guys were talking about how like people are so easily like believe like the other way, like right-leaning people are so it seems to be much easier because I think you brought up the example of like I can't teach someone or make someone understand systematic racism, but they'll believe in like some vampire that's eating children. I feel like that's just a problem that I've always seen from the left and the right. Is like the right has a much simpler messaging. It seems like almost all the time. It's like more left-leaning people are trying to take on these like bigger problems that affect all society, and the right-leaning people are just like, oh, well, just take care of yourself. We can solve it all on our own. So I don't know. I just seem like an issue that I've mostly seen. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I have something to add to that because I do agree, but I think Techno wanted to say something. I believe.
I had a question like half an hour ago. Like, so I think probably like 40 or 50% of the U.S. population doesn't know that Tucker Carlson is a fascist, and so that's an interesting thing to think about, right? Because we're definitely in liberal Twitch bubble. Like most people don't watch Twitch. No, most people have never heard of like Destiny or Bosch. But everybody has heard of Tucker Carlson, and most people just either tune him out or they're old and they have cable TV instead of Twitch, and Tucker Carlson is one of the news people that they see that they think delivers news, right?
I love boomers.
It's interesting, right? Like it's interesting to think about that because if you're not informed and you see Tucker Carlson on Dancing with the Stars, that just reinforces the idea that maybe his show is worth watching, that maybe he has some ideas that are worth spreading, and I think that's also dangerous. And
it's like a form of legitimization of what they do.
And it goes back to the rebranding of like these just not good people using these not good shows.
But why? Okay, so and we have any conservatives who want to come on here and defend? That'd be great. But if not, we can shit on these guys all day. But what? But then what's your dividing line? Okay, so the people I met, I talked about were ones who either helped out the Trump administration from the outside or the inside, right? Well, then what about old Bush employees, right? People who are part. There's a lot of those guys on TV. MSNBC gave a show to a I think she's a Bush appointee. In any case, I'm almost certain she was like a part of the Bush thing. Anyway, she also helped John McCain with his campaign against Barack Obama, and she helped pick fucking Sarah Palin to like pull her out of obscurity as the Alaskan governor into the spotlight as vice president. Like she helped do that. I forget what her name is, but like this is woman in MSNBC. She has a show. There's a lot of Bush people who are there. And remember, Bush, he started a fucking war. He started wars that we are still trying to get ourselves out of. He lied us into wars. So and then there was those who were there who enabled him. So should they also not be able to come on?
I think there's definitely a limit about like how much damage they did do, and how there's almost actually I was about to say it depends on how much people actually know about it, but then I think there's even more insidious is the fact that people who don't know and that they can keep getting by without like they can keep putting out their name, doing these things and getting good like positive reinforcement from that community without knowing what they did. I don't know. I have to think about it a bit more. I do think that if someone did those kind of things, it's only a negative to have them be seen in a good light without any repentance for what they did, or without any consequences for what they did. Like that's just a negative, and there should be some way to like try and counteract that. I don't know what that way is. I don't know what you guys think.
Do you think the issue is that people that essentially commit these sort of political crimes should actually just be held accountable in the first place, and not necessarily like the issue maybe just be that if you incite the January 6th riots, maybe there should be a law in place, like racketeering or something, where you get held accountable for that, even if you are the president and or former president. Rather than like policing the TV shows, maybe we should actually go back one step further and try to fix politics. Or do you think that maybe arresting politicians is too sketch?
No. I think there are some politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene should have been thrown in like an asylum like a long time ago. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
should have 100%. That woman should not have gotten to
Yeah, something
the
undiagnosed. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
yeah, and that's the thing about these older generations, that a lot of them do have undiagnosed mental disorders because they come from a time where, it was deemed as like weak to acknowledge that you might be a little bit different from the status quo, or, it's, they come from that, it's all in your head generation, or generations um people. But I do think that there is some like political candidates. Like I just tweeted the other day that Trump just needs to be thrown in jail. Period. We need to stop, dare I say, beating around the bush about it, and afraid to, do what needs to be done. Dude needs to be locked up. He incited a freaking insurrection because he was a whiny little bitch baby. Throw him in jail. He incited an erection as a whiny little bitch baby. Brought a bunch of other whiny little bitch babies to help him do it. Throw the man in jail. Why are we still discussing this? Why is this still a discussion? Why is this considered a controversial issue? The A plus B equals C, and he did A plus B and it equaled C. So why is it that it's still a question in the law? I mean, I keep asking myself this, but I know what the reason is. The dude's a rich guy. He's a rich asshole Republican, and rich asshole Republicans are always gonna bail out and defend other rich asshole Republicans, while at the same time pointing the finger at the Democrats and, saying that, Joe Biden went out and bought ice cream, and, the brown M&M is no longer sexy, and also it's brown. Like they will never, talk about the actual shit that they need to talk about, and they'll never hold each other responsible for shit as long as you didn't rob some rich guy's pocket. I'm sorry, Techno.
Okay, actually, I want to hit back. Just playing devil's advocate, right?
Okay, yeah.
There is a large volume of America that was calling for Obama to be arrested for his entire term and then after his term. Same with Hillary Clinton. And so, do you think that the idea of arresting politicians is dangerous in the sense that you're kind of like you're going out into the forest and you're getting the stick to beat that ass, and then later on someone's going to pick up that stick and beat your ass, right?
Right, yeah. And that's why, like, I talked about this before about, like, banning hate speech. Like, as much as I wish we could ban hate speech in a legal sense, at least, is subjective in a way. Like, if we were to pass anti-hate speech laws, what's to say that, like, the right can't turn around and do the exact same thing to us, but say that hate speech is, BLM, gay, communism, socialism. What if they say that that's hate speech and then try to throw us in jail for that? But I think the problem is, like, well, not the problem. I think the thing is, it's obvious that, like, Trump did a bad. He incited an insurrection. It isn't just he used free speech. Free speech is one thing. It's another thing when the thing that you literally told people to do leads to a goddamn insurrection, where, the Capitol gets stormed, and for a split second we were back in, like, Jim Crow America, where they were, except for, it wasn't just hang black people. Well, they hung white people back then too. Yeah, it was back in Jim Crow. All right, for a second we were back in Jim Crow America, where they were screaming, hang Mike Pence, hang this person, let's find AOC and kill her too, stuff like that. Like, that's the kind of person that does need to be thrown in jail when it's obvious that they, like, did freaking harm. Now, if, let's say Marjorie Taylor Greene gets up there and says something like, she commits, like, a microaggression, like she says, like, oh, let's say she does a 1350, right? Let's say she 1350s the audience. I don't think she should necessarily be arrested for 1350ing the audience. Now, if she were to advocate for, pro-Nazi shit, yeah, she should probably be arrested for that if it's very evident, like, that she did pro-Nazi propaganda and pro-Nazi shit. But if she 1350'd me, I hate that she 1350'd me, but it's like,
So
like, is it as harmful as, literal Nazi shit? You know what I
So
mean?
I think so.
Hopefully
This
it's
is
not too liberal of me.
well. This is where I would draw a big line from what you just said. For me, it's not so much about necessarily just the consequences or what specifically they're saying. It has to very much be around it being them doing it in a malicious manner and lying about it. So like if
Okay.
someone is coming out being pro-Nazi because they actually believe that Nazism's cool and like, hey, we should go make an ethno state and all that stuff. If they believe in that and that's what they want to push, they should be allowed to push it. They should be allowed to say that and be like, hey, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to advocate for. Where I draw the line is when people start spreading misinformation to lie to people to make them believe those kind of things. So if I went around saying, if I went around saying like, hey, if you start race mixing, you're gonna all like your race is going to actually die, or you are going to die. I don't want to say race, you are going to die when you like sleep with the other race. I'm like that shit is what gets me. I don't want people being lied to. That's where the waters get muddy. It's like, well, no, we're not gonna have an actual conversation if I have to deal with half of the people believing in some fake make believe stuff that you're making up.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I actually used to live with. Listen, let me just say that I used to be a different person than I am now. Okay, I used to be completely opposite what I am now, and I actually used to live with a guy who told me, live with two white guys, one of which told me, I think you should just date only black girls. And I said, why? And he said, because God made black people, and he made white people, and he made Mexican people, and he made Chinese people. And he did that for a reason. And I'm like, he did that. I mean, yeah, they also make like a shit ton of Skittles. Am I only supposed to eat like one specific kind of Skittle? Nah, I wanna eat all the Skittles. I wanna try out all the Skittles. I know it's like, dumbed down and really kind of stupid, but you get what I'm saying. But like, I knew a guy who said stuff like, if you get with the opposite race, you are committing genocide. I used to live with a guy who believed that.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean that's interesting. But so can we
Got out
like
of that
we've been
house
talking
real
about
quick.
people on the right, but are there people on the left who deserve the same treatment? If you're saying that that Tucker Carlson and them have done something specifically dangerous, right? So something that's kind of unforgivable. What about some people on the left?
I don't
Probably
know
not
if
on
you
the
guys.
left, but Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore's not really on the left. I mean, he
Right,
pretends
right,
he
but like
is.
he's considered.
He's not.
I mean,
He's
Yeah, what
not.
is
I mean, he's not really on the left.
I
Like,
don't consider him on the left.
yeah,
But,
go dig deeper.
the first one that comes to mind is who's that woman from CNN that people got really mad at because of the Russiagate stuff, the whole Russia thing that like she buried it the most, or she talked about the most. Said did she also come out saying like she had the actual tax
You're
tax
talking
returns
about Rachel
for
Maddow. She's MSNBC.
oh MSNBC. Sorry, I thought it was CNN. My bad.
I was thinking Rachel Maddow too. I was like, the
Oh,
only
my
person
bad.
that came to mind was Rachel Maddow when you said that.
So what has Rachel Maddow done specifically that was so bad that that she deserves to be treated like the other people who were either war criminals or were.
Well, I don't know. Oh yeah.
Well,
So if we want to talk about politicians, I would have to think a bit more about it.
Doesn't
I
have
was
to
more
be
thinking
necessarily politicians. Those people weren't politicians necessarily. They were just assistant administration. Tucker Carlson's not a politician.
mm-hmm.
Are you
But
talking
like,
about?
why? But like you said, Rachel Maddow. So like, why?
I said Rachel Maddow because that was the first one that came to mind when I hear people talking about people on the left that spread misinformation in some manner. That was the first one that came to mind.
So misinformation
about...
is the only thing that is the reason why these.
Primarily for me, yes, misinformation is like the key point. If you're maliciously spreading lies to like spread your idea, I think that's bad, and it only hurts.
Do you think Rachel Maddow was maliciously spreading lies, or like? Sorry,
I believe that she probably specifically lied with the tax return. I believe that she purposely
didn't
made
lie
it sound
about
like
the tax return. She actually had. She didn't lie.
Didn't she make it sound? I had to go back and reread it.
I remember I saw that broadcast. She
didn't make it sound like she had more than she actually had.
She just said she had some of his tax return, and she had some of his tax return, and it was disappointing, and that like it wasn't much, right? People wanted some like a slam dunk on her, but she had it. She had the stuff. Like it was on information that wasn't public before, and then she made it public.
And there's a difference here too, right? Like there's like Tucker Carlson and Rachel Maddow, you often see these two people juxtaposed. Well, Rachel Maddow is a pundit, and Tucker Carlson is a pundit. But one of these pundits is like short on some info about some tax returns, and one of these pundits denies that Black people are discriminated against by police, and also denies a whole bunch of other like absolute facts, right? And so one of these people was like, maybe justifying more votes to go one direction politically because of some sort of medium strength. I guess like the weight of the information matters a lot to me. Like if you were to sort of compare it to them and say they're both equally evil to me, I would say, all right, pundits on TV are dumb, but these two people are not the same in sort of the weight of the accusations that are levied against them, right? It doesn't make sense to me that both these people are causing the same amount of harm.
Sure, and just to be clear, I never said they were causing the same amount of harm. I was trying to find someone on a left-leaning area that I believe would spread some form of misinformation. Because honestly, most of the stuff I kind of look at is more right-leaning, so I can see what's being said on the other side. That's mostly what I've been.
Really, same. Just about. I'm trying to think though. I mean, I love how like the left is always talking about like tankies, and we can never think of any.
Well, an interesting one to mention here is Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton is on Epstein's list, right? And so we can throw Bill Clinton under the bus and say, okay, let's arrest him and all the other sexual predators, as long as there's like reasonably sufficient evidence.
Hey, he said he didn't have any relations with that woman. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Just throw him, toss him.
I mean, and he lied to you, right? Like, so that is the standard, right? And like, you can like Bill Clinton's policies or whatever as much as you want. I think modern liberals would probably hate a lot of Bill Clinton's policies. Like, he was he was relatively tough on crime. A lot of modern liberals also don't like Hillary. Hillary did actually come out like anti-gay for like 4 years or something for some reason. Right? And so there's a lot of people on the left that you can throw under the bus, but like with Republicans, it's like all of them, and it's constant, and it's all kind of pseudoscience or made up or misrepresenting statistics in a way that harms minorities and like marginalized groups, right? And like on the left, it's like we have some cleanup to do, but there's sanity. At least that's how I feel. And I'm sure Republicans would disagree with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but since I feel like all of us are probably more left-leaning to begin with, I feel like we're always going to think that the other side is their misinformation, or the stuff that they're spreading, or the stuff that they smudge is always going to be worse than the things that our side smudges. Because the thing that our side smudges, we believe, is probably at the end of the day going to lead to a better outcome anyways.
Right.
But the only other thing that just came out, and I might be butchering it, where I was thinking of like someone like kind of smudging the data or like giving a statistic in such a way to like rile people up was when Obama was talking about the pay gap, the 72%, 72 cents on the dollar, 78 cents on the dollar for a woman makes. And then again, I might be misremembering, but I thought when looking back into it, the real discrepancy is between like how what kind of jobs men and women are taking. Like that's the discrepancy. It's not like same man, same job, a man and a woman will be paid that vastly different. Am I misremembering, or is that?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think the pay gap is not particularly large if they have the same job, but it's like a few percentage points pay gap generally.
Mm-hmm. But but when it was brought up and when people would talk about that stat, people were assuming, and it was like almost imagined to be like, hey, same job, you're going to get paid that much differently.
I think that's something that went into it, is that particularly women with families tend to work less hours or work part-time. And so at the end of the day, like their annual salary was less.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely, it's interesting, right? Because like you have to wonder, like, am I also getting scammed here? Because obviously, like, we believe all these conservatives are getting, bodied by this misinformation. But like, we can clearly think of examples where we ourselves have taken.
So I don't know. Like, okay, this seems weird to me. Like, is it just that a person has said something wrong and that's why? Like,
well, if you're talking about putting them on Dancing with the Stars or not, it's clearly there's a very low bar to say you don't get to go on here. Like, if you're like a dictator or something, like if you've done a bunch of bad stuff, then you probably don't need to be on Dancing with the Stars. But to like completely silence them or arrest them, that's a very high bar. I think we can agree on that probably.
I mean, yeah, sure. We're talking about arrest, but like, when like So like, it seems weird that you guys can't think of anyone who is nominally on the left, who would have to go. And then it seems like you guys don't have a real like a coherent reason why some people shouldn't be allowed on those shows and other people should. Like it seems like okay, maybe misinformation, but or maybe you're actually pushing dangerous narratives, right? Or maybe you're helping. Like what is the reason that you don't?
Is it just difficult
that these people
to...
are definitely. What is the reason why some people are beyond reproach, right? And if there's such a thing, then there should be more people on the left. Now, I guess the best one you had was Bill Clinton. I think that was probably the best. But Bill Clinton, like what he did was, what he allegedly has done, is outside of like politics, right? So like you can say that anyone who is particularly dangerous, who might have done sexual assault, yeah, okay, great. I think that's an easy thing to do. But that's not based on his particular views, you know? Like, the reason guys don't like Tucker Carlson and think that he should be excluded is because of his views. Sean Spicer, because of his views. Same with, what was the other one? Rudy Giuliani, right? Of his views and his actions in the political realm. But what about then Bill Clinton? What exactly did he do? That was beyond the pale.
Didn't he didn't he like run a campaign ad with like the Confederate flag or something like that? I know it might seem a little weak for me to bring that up, but like wasn't that part of his, didn't he incorporate the Confederate flag like in his campaign, I believe, right? Like didn't he have like didn't he have didn't he have
Maybe.
like buttons and shit that he was giving out during his campaign that that had like the Confederate flag like design? Well, not design.
And this is the reason not to have him on a show rather than.
Well, I'm just saying like if you want to bring up something like bad that somebody did. Well, hold on.
No, just so if people like, I'm looking for reasons why not to let them on. Like,
I want to be clear on one thing about what I was saying when people should not be on for one. I'm not saying that someone should like come up and we should like say, hey, you're actually not allowed to be on this show. I'm saying that I would hold someone responsible if they had someone that did things that for me at least, again, it primarily comes to, did the person do something that spread misinformation maliciously? So like I would say Rudy Giuliani, there's no way in hell, in my belief, that he did not know what he was doing was wrong. That he's like, I know I'm going against the election results. I know what I'm doing isn't actually like the truth. And he still did it anyways. That's like number one. And I think Tucker would probably fall that in as well. There's no way that he believes the things that he's saying, and he's smudging things in such a way to be like, I'm going to push this narrative because that's what I want to do. I'm not trying to put actual like real things out there. So that's where I would draw the line. Wouldn't necessarily say that it should be illegal for them to go on. It's just what I would hold them. From a broader scope, if I'm just looking at someone that has different views than me that I disagree with, like say a Richard Spencer or something, if he goes on Dancing with the Stars, I'm going to be like, okay, it's Dancing with the Stars. I mean, you know who you're kind of putting on here. That's not cool, but it's not the same as, I wouldn't hold them to the same standard unless it was like a drastic difference. Like this guy is, the amount of harm that they would be doing would have to be drastic for me to feel differently about it. But I am primarily in the camp, misinformation and knowingly doing it. That's like, you do that and you don't own up to it, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
I mean,
go ahead, Techno.
So, like, do we, obviously, like, political views are always controversial. Do we hold people to extremes on either side of the spectrum regarding their political views as well? Or do we have to quantify harm in some way before we do that?
Well, like I said, if someone wants to go out there and say that they're actually a Nazi and they believe these things, and that's what they want to push for, they should be, go ahead, go do that. I would adamantly disagree with you.
The direct consequence of that is that you have a Nazi on Dancing with the Stars now, right? And they're like an devout Nazi. So I would probably, if I was the showrunner, I would say no Nazis, right? I would say that's too insane, right? That would be just like my
probably
opinion.
unless you are trying to advocate for Nazism.
Yeah, so like I
So
I
think
mean,
we,
I
you could
we've
mean,
easily
gotten no
explain that.
Nazis. Okay, we can agree on that one.
Yeah, like
We've
I
done
mean,
that.
so I'm just saying, like you got to push these things to the hypothetical extreme.
No, but
Mhm.
no, there's not. But that's not the hypothetical extreme. That's the easy part, right? Like the
Yeah,
extreme, like yes, that's an easy answer for everyone. The extreme is like cutting someone from the middle, right? It's saying that you have done something wrong, that is beyond the pale. A person who's a quote unquote centrist, right? Like that would be extreme. So
you're asking like who would be in that group?
So like okay, let me try to help you out, right? What about Gwyneth Paltrow? Gwyneth Paltrow, um, she's not a politician, but she's like nominally on the left, and she's pushed. She's the proprietor of Goop, GOOP, right? It's that's kind of alternative medicine type store, right? She's pushed all kinds of like dangerous like medical misinformation, right? And she like takes advantage of people who are desperate for like answers and cures, and she sells them like just junk, like very expensive junk that comes in nice little bags, right? That's what she does. um and she does it for big money, right? Like Gwyneth Paltrow, like I think that's a person that shouldn't be on. I mean, she was a part of the MCU. She was Tony Stark's girlfriend in that one. But I that's a woman that seems beyond the pale. Just like I thought Jenny McCarthy was. Jenny McCarthy with her crazy anti-vax nonsense that she shouldn't be around. I would say the same for Gwyneth Paltrow. But Gwyneth Paltrow, as far as I can tell, she's nominally on the left.
From what you're saying about her, 100%, yeah. Not allowed.
Yeah.
If she's spreading misinformation in the sense of like, hey, I'm gonna get you these fake, I'm gonna give you some mud to put on yourself, I'm gonna like charge you $100,000 for it. Yeah, get him out of here.
Pretty
just
much what she does.
generally,
Yeah.
generally, like I guess, yeah, like stuff that we've already agreed, like stuff that causes harm. Yeah, so we shouldn't
Well,
have, a
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think just causing harm is just it. Like I said, if a Nazi wants to go on and that's what they believe in, and that's all that it is, then I'm technically okay with that. I disagree in the sense of like I just disagree with Nazism, or I just someone from the right that's pushing for like I don't know what's
so maybe definitionally Nazis cause harm. Like
Maybe-
Nazis
maybe-
want
are
to
you talking-
erase.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. Are you saying that you would sell? No, I don't want to. I don't know if we want to go down that. I'm just wondering if like you wouldn't say that Nazis can't speak anymore or anything like that, right? You wouldn't take away their speech.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like it's hard to justify taking away speech, but like also, I mean, it's not really the exact conversation we're having. It's more about platforming and like allowing people to go on these sort of like whitewashy, like low budget or like medium high budget, but I guess from my perspective,
Yeah, I don't think I would draw the line
shows-
just because
yeah.
someone believes in things that I disagree with. I don't think I would draw the line there.
Okay.
So
Gwyneth Paltrow, 100%.
yeah, so like, I mean, like to me personally, like I guess you're saying like, it depends on like the level of harm that they do, Ori. Is that what you're saying? Like the level of harm that is like caused by what they say? Basically-
But I believe the highest level of harm is coming from just misinformation being spread. Someone being allowed to continue doing that, I am someone that likes freedom of speech in the sense like I want people who believe in the things that they are talking about to be able to talk to each other and then like hash it out. But if someone's in there being a bad actor or being a grifter, you can't have it. I can't have that when I don't know who I'm talking to actually believes and actually is doing it in good faith. So therefore, I think people that are doing that in bad faith and being malicious shouldn't be allowed.
Okay. So with the Gwyneth Paltrow, the Gwyneth Paltrow situation, I guess we should call it. Yeah, I would say no. Like, don't have her on. We should not have a person who like spreads like misinformation to the point where like it is actively causing harm, killing people potentially, and it's just pseudoscience, but it's like really bad pseudoscience. Like again, people like die. I'm assuming like people would probably die from like the things that she says, right? Or would get seriously injured at the very least from the things that she sells and from her scams and what have you. Like it just doesn't look. It just wouldn't look good. It just wouldn't look good for like any sort of station to have, you know, like a legit scammer like on their shit, like a legit swindler like on their shit. Like I remember, well, I don't remember, but because this was long before any of us were born or even some of our parents. But you know, like swindling traveling salesmen from like the early 1900s, like these people would get like completely ran out of town and shit for, you know, um business malpractice, I guess you could call it, or just scamming in general. So like, you know, that's a good idea. Let's just not have these people like have spaces where they can, you know, or like be given anything that could be seen as like an endorsement of or support of their batshit craziness. You
I
know,
think I agree with that. I think I come down
pretending
on.
pretending like you're this like woodland shaman who's like, you know, I'm gonna slap the dirt on you and that'll heal you. Like, yes, people, this does work, and then it doesn't work and people die of COVID. Like, stop. Let's not do that. Let's
Yeah,
not let's not platform those let's not platform those people.
I think I come down on scammers way harder than I come down on like people that are maybe just dumb or wrong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, someone who's dumb or wrong can be probably
Come on, guys.
rehabilitated.
Let's not be scammers. Right? Like
Yeah, it's not that hard.
let's not let's just not scam people. Let's just not. You don't like it when you get scammed, do you? Why would you scam somebody else?
It's interesting, right? A lot of
Not nice.
misinformation actually. There's like a travel path for misinformation through like the essential oil natural healing community.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like it's already a community of people that believe unscientific stuff, and it's already a community of people that are like, why can't I continue to believe things, right? I'm allowed to believe things, right? You know, you get a lot of those people, and it's just like, well, you have no evidence and it doesn't work, and you're charging $40 for a candle, and nobody understands. So please stop. But yeah, like a lot of that stuff goes through like these sort of weird pseudoscience pathways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have new individuals.
Oh, thank God.
Hello, Crapness. Did you have any thoughts on this?
Not yet necessarily. I'll chime in just a second.
Okay. Hi, Patroller. Hello. Hi.
Hey, how's it been?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I had a work injury last week, but other than that, I'm good.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Sorry.
So-
But I'm glad you're recuperating. What do you have thoughts on this?
So we're talking misinformation, right? I just popped in, so. I
Oh,
don't know
okay,
what's
so no
going
one
on
knows. I don't know. I don't know how long. Yeah, we're talking about whether people should be allowed on. It's not about misinformation. This is more about whether some people are beyond the pale in terms of being rehabilitated. So we have examples of like Gwyneth Paltrow, or Rudy Giuliani, or Tucker Carlson, right? People who end up, despite like their extremely bad behavior, go on platforms and they're not actually called out for what they've done. Like Rudy Giuliani actually tried to steal an election, right? That's what he tried to do, tried to undermine democracy. And yet he gets to go on reality TV shows and pretend like he's just like a fun old man who's just having a laugh. When if he had his way, he would have literally have like overturned democracy. So like, should he be allowed on shows like late night shows or things like that? Or if he is, like, should he have to be every single time be confronted with what he's done? Meaning like you couldn't have him on like a singing show like The Masked Singer, which is where he ended up being, right? Like is he so beyond the pale that he actually can't be allowed to just interact like that without consequences?
No, I mean I think that's kind of like ridiculous. If there's consequences, they're gonna be like handled out in the court. Like if he's sitting down on an interview show, then yeah, you can question him about it. But like if it's like 6 years, 10 years from now, and he's like fucking like 85-year-old Rudy Giuliani, and they're gonna keep questioning the same thing he's done for like the past 10 years for every interview he does. It's kind of like
Yeah, because he would
If
have
he's never
overthrown
owned up to it,
democracy.
yeah. If he's never owned up, he never took
Yeah.
any consequences. Of course.
You get one
And then-
fascism, and that's just kind of it, yo. You just get that one fascism.
like we've had like freaking Bush go on Ellen, and people aren't critiquing that. Like,
No,
did
they
either.
did. They absolutely did. Actually, they did. The fact that Ellen said like, "Oh, like he's such a good friend. Him and I, we get together." I
there was that, but like,
and they
but like,
criticized
it's not like
Michelle
something that
Obama for the same
constantly
thing.
ran through. Well, yeah, well, that's like a whole other argument. Like some people have this argument that they'll use like a popular black woman to rehabilitate the image of like negative people because of whatever reason. Like I don't know that argument. Like I've heard it thought about, and it's kind of a weird one, but it's I don't know. But like there was the whole spat over like the Bush and Ellen thing, but that lasted for like a 3-day news cycle, and then it's like now it's just popping up because now we're talking about like Rudy. Like,
No. The
like,
problem is less. I mean, Ellen's a problem herself, right? But the problem is Bush. Bush is the problem, not Ellen. So Ellen letting on, yeah, that's not going to last long. But Bush is the issue. Like pretending that Bush wasn't a huge danger. He with the wars he started, under the lies that he pushed. Right, like he was a dangerous individual, and to say like, oh, he's just like a kind painter now, right? Just like a fun guy, rather than actually pushing back on him. That's the problem. That's when you're rehabilitating. So.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do we not believe in rehabilitation?
That's why but they haven't been rehabilitated.
Right.
Like what they're doing is just making them look like he's not a war criminal. That Bush isn't a war. Bush is a war criminal. Bush ordered torture, right?
But should shows like this bring that stuff up? Like
that's the problem.
Does that need to be brought up? Right. Does that need to be brought up every single time? I don't know if it does.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're discussing.
I know. Yeah.
The episode hasn't even aired yet, right? We don't even know what's going to happen on the episode. We just know that they walked off. We don't even know what happens.
The point is that he was there in the first place, and that and as far as we know, look, maybe Masked Singer did do a better job. I doubt it. But from Jenny McCarthy, she was in one other judge still stayed on that show. The two other judges walked off, but like Jenny McCarthy, that batshit crazy woman, did she really dig into Rudy Giuliani? I very much doubt it. Those aren't the shows that will do that.
Really,
so but that's rehabilitating their image. Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, you could make an argument it's rehabilitation, but to me, it's just a game show. So you can have like a popular and polarizing figure on it.
You don't think that's going to change the views of how people view them?
I mean, what is he gonna have some phenomenal song that's just gonna make everybody forgive him? Is this like R. Kelly 2007, and everybody's just gonna forget about R. Kelly fucking pissing on girls? Like, come on.
But these people did. That's exactly what happened. That's a good example.
We literally had a whole.
R. Kelly is a perfect example.
People didn't forget about it.
No. So some people remembered, but he was allowed to continue on in the music industry, right? Like people collabed with him afterwards, right? He had a successful career with music producers. He was on videos. He got interviewed for other things. People were like, "Hey, did you piss on that girl? Did you actually piss on that girl?" They just ignored that. This is actually the perfect example.
I honestly don't know if it is, because we still have this massive problem in the rap industry of people saying, "Oh, we shot and we killed this guy, we stole this money, we did all this other shit," and it's constantly forgiven, and people the self snitch in the rap song, and people forgive those people, they collab with them, and I don't know if it's really that good of an argument to say that they forgave him or not. They forgot about it.
They were so now those same people who worked with him previously. Now that there's more evidence that he slept with underage girls, right? Then all of them ended their collaborations. They say, "Oh, this is just too far. He's a terrible individual. But there's nothing has changed, right? Nothing actually changed about R. Kelly. He's still being accused of the exact same thing.
I think now I think it's now just a social climate, right? And now they're like, oh, we can't be seen affiliating with R. Kelly, even though they knew the same shit they knew beforehand. Like they knew he did it. It's not like, oh, there's something now we didn't know.
So is that a bad thing then? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess.
I think the question is, is whether or not it should be allowed, or whether or not we should even say who is allowed to be on these kinds of shows necessarily. Like, I think we're forgetting, because I think at least most of us, if not all of us here, are coming from a very left-wing perspective. But we forget that at least half the country, if not more, tends to be right-wing, and would probably not see Rudy Giuliani as this like menace that should not be allowed on cable television. They're probably used to seeing him almost every day on Fox News. It's like, it's not that crazy to have him on television. I mean, I don't like him, but
then that's the
whether
issue.
or not he should be allowed seems kind of weird.
But that's the issue in itself. Yes, they put him on Fox News where he's never actually critically examined, right? Like, now's the time. Like, it's not like, for instance, the people. Another example was, the people going on the late night shows, right? Those late night shows are extremely political, right? They've become over the decades extremely political,
Like
especially after the Daily Show made that a thing, right? They become and they can ask tough questions. They've done it before, but when they don't do that, when they bring them on and just like have fun games with people who are monsters, right? Like, think about it. A war criminal. Think about and this is an extreme. I know it's extreme, so you don't have to tell me it's not. You don't have to say that to me. I get it. But let's say it was Osama bin Laden, right? And he was on the show, right? Like, he was just like having fun, right? He came on to, like, they invited him. A producer said, "Hey, Osama bin Laden, why don't you come on and do a fun little thing with us, right? Why don't you be a masked singer? Why don't you go on Dancing with the Stars, right? Why don't you come on the Tonight Show and we'll play one of our random little games with you? Like why not? Like, again, I get it's extreme, sure, fair enough, but that's the principle I'm testing here. If you would say that that's too far, that if he is ever to appear, Osama bin Laden, on a show, he should at very least be challenged critically, right, for his actions. Then what about the other war criminals, like George W. Bush, an actual fucking war criminal?
Yeah, I think that if they show George W. Bush on The Masked Singer, I don't think that would be necessarily a problem either. Like, I don't agree with his politics, but they're not talking about his politics or even really platforming his politics. He's just
Osama bin Laden, they're not platforming his politics, right? So it's not a big deal.
Well, but he's not a celebrity. He's a war criminal by our own legal system.
Wait a minute, hold on. What is it? Okay, hold on. What is this? What is this distinction that you're drawing here, right? He is a famous person. He actually is. Osama bin Laden, I mean, if someone was still alive, actually would be a celebrity. He is well known. People would tune in. For him on Dancing with the Stars, people would watch that. You wouldn't think they wouldn't? Yeah, he's a celebrity. He's well known.
This is a different type of thing, right?
Hold on. I need to examine this. What is this
said
distinction?
It was extreme.
No,
it is extreme,
do you think?
Right?
I guess this matters. Do you think George W. Bush is a war criminal?
Do I think he's a war criminal? I think that I think he is in some ways, right? He is a war criminal, least. So in a social aspect, in the sense that we can view the things he did and say, okay, he did some shit that's really fucked up.
What did he do? What did he do? I don't think you know what he did.
Well, I mean, he did a lot of things, right? He basically start the war in the Middle East, and at least get us in there, right? I don't know. I do.
You
First
don't
off,
know. You don't know.
All right. I'm just trying to catch up late. All right. So what you tell me? What did he do?
Authorized torture. I said it already. He authorized torture. He he because of him, Guantanamo Bay still exists. Right. There are people there who've been trapped there for 21 years. Right.
Hold on.
Yeah.
We've been paying for Guantanamo Bay since the 1950s.
So
It's
what?
always-
No, but that we're using it as
like,
a
you
prison
can't
to hold.
put that on George Bush.
No, I can. What are you talking about, Hype Patrol? Like, listen to yourself. I'm talking about the prisoners captured during the invasion, the Afghanistan and Iraq war invasion. Those people, right? Those like super criminals that were added there. Those are the people I'm talking about. Like, not the fact that the base exists. Yes, I know that already. That's not a point. That in itself is never a problem. The United States has a base. That's not what I'm talking about, obviously. I'm talking about the people that we captured without any evidence. Zero evidence, right?
But
and we
Brian,
just put them there permanently? So, like, on the authorized torture, is that not war criminal behavior?
Oh, I think it is, right? You
Okay.
think it is. I think most of us can agree, right? But the problem is he tried and convicted as a war criminal?
He can't
They
be.
don't
If
get
you guys
just-
look at what I linked, yeah, we will invade The Hague if there's any U.S. active military tried for international war crimes. So
Yeah.
Right.
But no, what
Well,
does that
but,
mean?
I mean,
What did he mean by
even
that?
within our
What did he mean by that, though? What was the consequences of that? Meaning we can't try them as war criminals.
right.
So
Which means we
Now,
get away
what,
with it.
and on an international level, yeah. No, I understand. The thing is, like, I agree. He probably should be tried as a war criminal, right? But I mean, should he? The question is
was
whether or
Osama
not
bin
he should be
Laden
allowed on a
convicted?
show.
Osama bin
I
Laden
mean,
was never convicted. Osama bin
But
Laden.
the show, if you look at the politics of the people who probably run the show, I mean, like, you shouldn't expect them to line up with all of ours.
No, we're
perfect.
talking about should, not whether like they actually will. We're talking about should. So again,
I know.
Osama bin Laden was never convicted, right?
Yeah.
So he should be, on Dancing with the Stars. He should go on and play
Right.
games with Jimmy Fallon.
The difference is there isn't half the country that believes Osama bin Laden should be okay to be on the show.
Half
you
the
know?
country
like,
believes that George Bush is a war criminal. You can talk to a lot of
right,
people.
and
they
the other
don't.
half doesn't. Right. No. But the other half doesn't. Right.
So the
and
other
the other
half
half
does
doesn't
also.
think
The
that
other half also is
Giuliani
Bush.
is that bad either.
Yeah,
Well,
I
we're
know.
not coming.
It's
We're
okay.
not coming from a point where it matters that what half of them believe. It's the fact that he did something wrong and it wasn't held responsible for it. That's
Right.
the issue. It doesn't matter. Everyone could believe it, but that's not the point.
I know, but if the root of the question is whether or not they should be allowed on a American TV show that I believe is on the Fox network, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, is it that crazy that Rudy Giuliani would be on it? I don't know if it is.
Fox
No, we
is separate
let
from Fox News. So
Abiy
it's
Ahmed
the same
have the
thing.
Nobel Peace
I
Prize
understand.
while
No, I'm
he's
saying
committing
they're owned by
genocide
separate companies.
and shit, so
Yeah.
But go ahead, but Readsters, you were saying something?
we like give people like the Nobel Peace Prize and shit that commit genocide, so it's not like the most unsurprising thing.
Yeah. So, we're talking about like, should that be the case, right? Like, is it a problem that these shows do that, or the Nobel Peace Prize was given a freaking Obama, and then he ended up starting wars after that, like for nothing. He really did nothing, and that's a separate issue, I guess, maybe. But
Can I ask what the point of contention?
He was
is?
awarded that Peace Prize in like February 2009, right? So it was like 4 months after he got in.
yeah, it was like for almost like it was like for literally for
It was
nothing,
early
just for
on.
being the black president. Really, that's what he. What was it? The point of contention is whether these people should be allowed on these shows, and that they should be allowed to come on at least uncritically, right? So, if like coming on a late night show, like you can have them on, right? You can have George W. Bush on, but what about like hey, you tortured people, right? Like you put them in cages, and you all around the world you sent them to CIA black sites for torture, and with no evidence. No, and we got you're not even getting
I think
actual evidence. So that's hold on, research. That's what we're talking about. Okay.
Brian, can you clear one thing? When you say shouldn't be, do you think that we should actually by law not allow them unless they do that? Like tell TV companies, hey, if you're gonna have this person on, you have to meet these requirements or else you can't air it?
No, I'm saying that like is it ethical? Is it moral?
Like a moral thing.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. That's what okay, cool.
Anyone?
Yeah, I think like maybe it's like every section has its lane, right? I wouldn't expect somebody on The Masked Singer to be questioned the way I would expect somebody on a Daily Show to be questioned.
That's right. So
Like if somebody,
so Osama bin
Yeah.
Laden should be invited on.
sure,
But Sure. Okay. Good.
Wait, to the Daily Show?
No, not the Daily
Or
Show.
to
I'm
the
talking about
Masked
Masked
Singer?
Singer. Yeah. Like, sure.
Look, you can't have Osama bin Laden on the Daily Show because maybe someone will go rogue and ask him about his CIA connections.
You can't have him because he's dead.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, but in the spirit of the hypothetical.
That would be gross if it's hypothetically coming. Anyway.
So yeah, I mean, like, at least some pretty dog shit opinions here. Like, what? Like, pretty dog shit opinions. Like, we're talking about, oh no, war criminals. Yeah, we could have a fun time with war criminals, right? A person who authorized like the most grievous torture. We could find the description of the torture, right? That's like publicly, well, part of it anyway. It's publicly available, right? The things that they've done, right? The things they did to was Abu Zubaydah. Like, it was gruesome. What the United States authorized, and George W. Bush specifically. They were like, oh yeah, it's a war criminal. We could just like play fun games with them.
Wait, so
So that's not
Brian,
a
would you
big
be okay if the Masked Singer brought on Obama?
Obama is he's committed war crimes, so probably not actually. No.
So it seems like any
Well,
president
drone
of recent
strikes.
years.
Anyone who's committed
Probably
war
not be
crimes,
okay
when you
with.
committed a war crime, then
Well, it seems like
It's
just about
like
every president in recent years has
Literally
committed a
every
war
president
crime.
if you committed a war crime, then it could be
Every
if it's
single
every
one.
president, then every president. But if they committed a war crime, then that's a problem. My line is a war criminal, not that they're a president. If you committed a war crime, then yeah.
Is it a hard line where no matter what they like, what would they have to do because they're never going to be convicted for it? What would they have to do to repent enough to come out and be like, okay, now they can be like on these things again?
They have to admit that they're war criminals. I think that'd be a start.
Okay.
That would be a start. Hey, I've committed war crimes. I've done immeasurable damage to the world. Right? The world is like worse off because of me. I need to try to make some recompense to the people I've harmed. Right? Like those things. Start with that. Yeah. And then yeah, maybe we can play games with you afterwards.
So, Brian, can I ask you a question then? Because let's imagine the worst person that we all kind of agree on, like the man with the little mustache. He rises from the dead, and he says, like, Prime, I've seen your panel shows from hell.
That's exactly what things are being. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want you to be the exclusive first interviewer. Would you take that interview, or would you decline that interview?
Yeah, I would interview them because then I would ask them about, the genocide. Like, I'm not gonna be playing games with them. Like, that's the point. Whether you're uncritical of them or not. Not the fact that they have them on. I've stated this already, right? The fact that they've had these individuals on isn't the problem. The fact is that they're being portrayed as if they are ordinary celebrities, right? And not the monsters that they are. So that's the issue.
Like the next question would be like, how critical are you going to be, and are you going to even
extremely critical of Adolf Hitler? Yes, extremely critical.
Yeah, we all agree on that. But like for me, it's just like giving them a stage like equals like what they are going to do on that stage. If they're gonna sing like a fucking pop song, right? Like if it's like extremely bad, like Little Mustache Man, I wouldn't even have him on there, right? So it really depends on the degrees that we are talking about. So when it comes to the show and when it comes to the person that you're gonna have on.
Can I just intervene? Like, first of all, I think that if you want to get redemption, you need to at least show that you are on the path of redemption, which is not the case with Rudy Giuliani. So we can already get that out of the picture. But there are examples in history of a guy who did something very terrible and at the same time did something extremely great. One that came to my mind is Fritz Haber. Fritz Haber was a German scientist who basically invented a way to synthesize, I forgot the word, nitrogen. And that helps to make agriculture grows all around the world. And he basically saved people from famine all around the world. But at the same time, he was a war criminal that starting the first gas attacks during World War I. And is there still a debate about if he is not a good guy, but if he is worthy of praise or not? Because at one point you can say that he has saved like millions of people from hunger, and at the same time he is a despicable anti-Semitic Jewish guy from Germany that helped the Nazis killing people massively. Like, for example, the gas that was used by the Holocaust was part of his design. So that's kind of you will have that debate for a long time, and I don't think there's redemption possible for those kind of people. That's it.
Sorry, there is no redemption possible, or there is?
For people who have done things so bad that even when they did something great, you will still have people debating that the redemption is not possible for them. Personally, I don't think there's redemption for something that bad, because like whatever good you will do, it will never change the bad that you have done before. That's my opinion, but at least I guess I can it gave you like some perspective on like the whole debate on these kind of things, because there are examples of people that you can make an argument that say will deserve rehabilitation somehow.
Well, what about someone that did those negative things, but let's say that if I humanize them more, and then they get like they have they come forward and say, yeah, I know what I did was wrong. Now I want to do good for the world. And by humanizing them, putting them on these shows and like bring them out, they can like reach their message even further and give more good. They'll never give as much good as bad as they did prior. But wouldn't that be worthwhile to like, oh, this person has changed. Now let's put them on here so we can get their message out even more and help even more people. Isn't that the route you would go?
Well, that's... Sorry, go ahead, sorry.
I don't think it's sufficient, you know. It gives a whole other meaning to the sentence, you only live once, you know. The fact is that we only live once, so we cannot repair things, the bad that we have done somehow. So if the bad is so bad that there's no redemption to it, then there's no redemption to it. Like genocide is the line that you have to trace. Like the value of your life will not overcome like the value of the lives that has been lost.
Sure, there might be no redemption in that sense, but there's, in my ideas, there's a redemption if like if I kill 1 million people and then say I can go and save like 500 people, that's not going to redeem all the 1 million people that I killed. But if I could be prompted to then save 100,000 people, that's better than just saving the 500. So I would want, so if I'm like rehabilitating in the sense of like, I know what I did was wrong and now I'm only going to do good, well then as much good as I can do, that's what we should aim for. And then it would be okay to put them on. It'd be like, okay, well, they're never going to outweigh what they did poorly, but at least we can do more good than just getting rid of them.
It feels like maybe you have done something really bad.
Wow.
And we don't know about.
No, I
of course not.
For me personally, like if you look at like some creators on the internet that used to make like YouTube videos, did the whole anti-SJW like reactionary memes, and were like alt-righters
and all those people,
like alt-righters. Those people, they you have seen like in the last 2 years, those people changed their opinion. So those people can be rehabilitated. When it comes to like these extreme cases, when we were talking about like again, little mustache man, that guy cannot be rehabilitated, right? So
and why really rehabilitating them? Because there are other people that can voice the same opinion as they do. So maybe they should just fade in the shadow for someone that has that opinion, that opinions they change towards, who takes the lead for them, and they don't have to be on the stage. So I feel like well, sure.
I think actually there's some serious dramatic value in rehabilitating a criminal. Like if you have, let's say we did get George Bush to admit all the war crimes and admits all the waterboarding and all the torture, and he started advocating for the release of all the prisoners from Guantanamo Bay, right? That story is 1,000 times better than some random politician saying, hey, I think we should get rid of Guantanamo Bay, it's been a while, right? I think there's a lot of value in having the criminal come back and repent. And it's that's an extremely Western or Christian story, right? The idea of redemption and forgiveness.
Do you prefer a good story to doing the right things?
Well, there's more net value in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if Bernie Sanders said we should shut down Guantanamo Bay, I'm sure I could, like, if someone asked Bernie Sanders what he thought about Guantanamo Bay, he'd be like, oh, it's terrible. No reaction, right? George Bush, huge probable reaction. That's valuable, right? So I think the idea of allowing these people to repent is valuable. Now, granted, like, there was the example of Hitler. Maybe we just put Hitler, if he's resurrected, back in jail for forever, or just, completely cremate him so he can't come back anymore, right? So there is like
Rob needs
probably
to
a
have
max
their input and
tolerance
shit,
level.
so I don't.
I mean, first they need to repent before being rehabilitated. This is not the same thing.
And politicians never repent. And one of the main reasons is because when you're in politics, you develop this network of relationships. And if you sabotage your party in any way, you're sabotaging all those relationships. And you basically lose all your friends, you're branded a traitor, and your life becomes hell. So we're never going to see George Bush repent. But I think it would be nice to have people like that who have changed their ways. Like if Gwyneth Paltrow would stop scamming people and admit she scammed people, get her on TV immediately, right? That's important. That's actually good news.
I mean, there is like example in life where you have people repenting all the time and still doing the same shit all along again and again. Like, I don't know, her husband that beat his wife or these kind of things. So, like, is it a good thing that the woman is like, hey, I'm really rehabilitating him. It's been the face several times, and that's not good, right?
I think everybody would agree that if it's like dishonest, like repenting, that it wouldn't make any sense. So I don't think we would necessarily disagree. Like you're just being dishonest fuck, So yeah.
Like, okay, what if we like abstract this out even further, right? Say we go back, we reach back into the bowels of history. We pluck out Xerxes and Alexander the Great, right? We both know they've killed hundreds of thousands of people in war, destroying entire cities, nations of people. And like considering them war criminals, are we gonna stringently like question them on like the destruction of Tyre or what? Or like how would we go about questioning these people on our like late night show?
How
did you or did you not try to kidnap, like, take over the entire planet?
Yeah,
and then they'll go into some philosophical. They'll try to go into some philosophical hypothetical, and we'll just say, no. Answer the question: did you or did you not try to take over half the goddamn planet? And we just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if they've done some harm, right? I don't know. Name the harm, then we talk about the harm. It's not complicated, right? You're just like, hey, this is pretty fucked up. Like, let's talk about this, buddy. What's going on, with the slaughter, and the misery you've spread throughout the planet. That's kind of messed up. What do you have to say about that, buddy? Like, start there. I don't know, maybe not, but don't just like play games with this person, like as if they are someone respectable. Like these people, if you're an actual war criminal, and we've developed war criminals, but like you can adjust it for your level of outrage, right? So if you think Tucker Carlson's not a war criminal, but I'm pretty sure he would advocate for war crimes. Like you can just adjust this, the scale where you want, and decide where's the cutoff line. So like Tucker Carlson being a rancid racist, maybe he doesn't get to come on without being questioned. Maybe he doesn't get to go into a game show and just like dance around. Everyone thinks he's just a fun guy. He's harmless. Other people?
Some people are just irredeemable, so that's kind of out of the question. But rehabilitating is not the right thing to do for those people. They should have the right to be forgotten somehow. So trying to just put them back on stage, it's just too much.
So I think that how do I say this? I do think that people possess the ability for rehabilitation. I think a large part of it is whether or not that person A even recognizes that what they did was wrong, and B, whether or not they themselves want to, I guess, seek rehabilitation, and for what reason do they want to seek rehabilitation? Do they or repentance or what have you? Are they doing it because they actually realize that what they did was wrong, or are they doing it because they just want to be back in the public's good graces?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that, and to another extent, like something that like AWOL Techno brought up, like I've been a politician in 2010 to 2014. Like you got to make like compromises, and it's like for me it's like a multi-party system. So for me it was like easier to handle those things when you're either like a Democrat or a Republican, and you.
Yeah, my power went out, so that was unfortunate. So you can refresh. Uh, um. Yeah, so I don't know. That was annoying. Super annoying. Anyway, guys, support the channel. You can buy better power. Support the channel. Before we do anything else, subs to the channel, guys. Help us out. Yeah. You know, give us support so that we can keep doing these things. Let me jump into this, but it's not router. It's like we just lost power. So
Rehabilitated.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the average person they don't really need their image to be rehabilitated, because the average person, when they go around, no one's going to know what they did wrong.
Or even historically rehabilitated. You will have some people that did terrible shit that end up having their image rehabilitated, and so there are also the example of the contrary. Some people who didn't do that bad at that time that had their image soiled to a certain point because they have detractors that were just putting them on the ground. Like, for example, if you look in detail at the history of the French Revolution, you will see that Robespierre was not the monster that he was that got described in most history books nowadays.
Moving into contemporary times, one of the reasons I came on the panel was to suggest that I'm not really buying into the idea or concept being expressed here that some of you, or any of you, or even some of your fellow travelers here on the left wing side would even allow folks to be rehabilitated, if you will, or would ever find a sufficient level of repentance to characterize them as being rehabbed and allowed to be back in the public square. I see a real challenge in that actually happening, and we can see this in popular media or popular culture here, where folks who have uttered things just 10 years ago that were fairly in the main, but by today's standards on the left is considered to be, outrageous. They're not actually allowed to repent and be fully rehabbed. In fact, the left goes after them and goes after their current employment and tries to put their current livelihood at risk and in jeopardy for those views.
Well, hold on. We're talking about.
I'm buying you guys would accept this.
We're talking about people. Well, so what you're talking about is people that are being held responsible for the BS that they say. Like, yeah, there's rehabilitation, but there's still consequences for the things that you do and the things that you say. We're not just gonna let these people that are like devout, like obvious, racist, sexist, homophobes, whatever, just like continue to exist with like no repercussions whatsoever. It's not so much of the idea that we're like, saying these people can't repent or what have you. It's just one of the lines of you need to suffer the consequences and be held responsible for the shit that you said and the shit that you did. It's that simple. That doesn't mean that person can't be rehabilitated.
Well, Eli, when he mentioned about like it being kind of like the societal type of norm, I don't know if I'm self-reporting, but like when I was like 5 or 6, the F slur was used all the time. Like everyone used that, like
Oh
literally
yeah,
all the time.
I remember. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did it.
So
What, you were a
would you?
smoker?
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you? Let's say that during that time I'm a like more of an adult, but it's still like that's what people are saying. If it came out that I used to say that, should I lose my job today?
Well, I don't think you need to necessarily lose your job today for something like that. But like that's back when you were a kid. Like,
That's why.
oh
But
wait,
say during that same time I was an
oh
adult.
yeah,
So like take an
yeah,
adult.
okay, yeah. Well, I mean, if you didn't know, I would say like if you didn't know that it was bad or what have you, like that's why I say like nuance and context matters.
Mhm.
Like if the person didn't know because like everybody was saying that
I
shit
don't
back
think
then,
it does matter.
like people like I'm not gonna necessarily like hopefully I don't ruffle anybody's feathers for saying this, but I'm not gonna necessarily be super mad necessarily at some really old white person that said the N word with the hard R way back when. Like, or you know what I mean? Like, or at least I might be a little, like upset by it, but I'm also gonna understand, like, it was the times were different back then. As long as this person is not, continuing to do racist shit, like,
Well, I think what I was talking about, Eli, was more
fine.
so of
Like,
allowing them back in the popular culture, right? Because that's kind of the topic here, is whether or not someone like Rudy should be allowed to or be introduced on these shows without a full airing of what leftists would characterize as this offensive behavior that needs to be discussed before he can be allowed back into the public square and back into the public eye. I think a real problem with that is most ordinary people who aren't terminated online don't want their sports and their entertainment shot through with this kind of political righteousness and political pit fighting, because it belies I think a real need or compulsion on the left to make the personal politics and to make life completely political. And if you don't align with certain political views, then you should be excluded from the square, whether that's jailing you or it's shunning you and turning you out from the public square.
Yeah, like a
so,
good.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say like the good example we can go back to would be like Kevin Hart's 2010 tweets banning him from the Oscars or whatever.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like
every
even-
time Kevin Hart appears on a show now, right? Should we have a public airing of what he was tweeting? And
Did he apologize? Did he thoroughly apologize? Did he
I don't know. Does everyone know he's apologized?
we know
Okay.
that he. But how do we know he
Right.
feels it? Like, is that enough for people? Like, what standard do we set where it's enough?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's a perfectly acceptable question. But like, if we could admit that he has to actually repent, for doing something terrible, then okay, sure. We can talk about what exactly that might look like. All right, but at the very least, we can agree that like with Kevin Hart, I don't actually remember the joke, so I don't want to die on this Kevin Hart hill, but whatever. But like,
No, we did it.
so the point is that like that a person in the public eye did something like terrible, and something that reaches some sort of level of outrage. You can adjust that level of outrage for wherever you want, but has reached some level of outrage, that person would need to, at the very least, apologize. So we can agree on that, but then we made progress.
Okay,
Be more. Thank you for gifting us up to Friday Living. That's really kind of you. And guys, support the channel. Support this content. If you've been enjoying this content so far, support us by subbing to the channel, gifting bits or gifting subs. If you want to see more of this, we're here all the time. We're here all the time. So if you like what we're doing, then support this community. Support what we're building here by subbing to the channel, gifting bits or gifting subs. You get our emotes. You get active viewing. You get access to so many parts of our Discord. You get a lot of things. We will need your help to keep on going, right? So support this community, sub to the channel, and so that we can keep on going. So like, let's see if we can get a hype train going. We need to get 2 other individual donors after my man B More, who helped out really kindly, right? 2 more individual donors. We can start ourselves a hype train. Subs to the channel, give bits or give subs to keep us up and running. Go ahead.
So I
Yeah,
would jump
I
in.
think.
Okay, other person. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I wanted to jump in and notice that we're sort of juxtaposing Kevin Hart and Rudy Giuliani. Kevin Hart made like a tweet or multiple tweets, and Rudy Giuliani sued in multiple states to stop democracy. And I don't think that that's comparable, right? I think this is a common thing that I see. Everybody on both sides of the political spectrum does this. It's a whataboutism? Like, what about these people? What about these people? Right? Like, well, yeah, Dave Chappelle has recently fucked up a lot, right? And Dave Chappelle should be held to account to that, at least by the people who think he fucked up. But Dave Chappelle is a comedian. He's specifically an offensive comedian. Our expectations for Dave Chappelle are different from our expectations of people who are, in the service of the President of the United States. It's a really important distinction to make. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's you're part of the panel, so you could say that. But no, I think that's really important. Yeah. So like, Kevin Hart was like thrown out there by others, right? But Kevin Hart did very little, right, on this grand scale. Well, we were literally talking about war criminals, and now it's like, oh yeah, well, what about this comedian? Oh okay, right.
Well, Prime, I think that's important too to recognize that while there may be a certain segment that intensely believes that Rudy Giuliani was a war criminal, that's hardly universal. In fact, it's probably not even close to a majority position.
I didn't say Rudy Giuliani was a war criminal. I don't think anyone said that.
W then, W. Bush, right? Or Rumsfeld, right? Or even Colin Powell, for example. There's hardly universal agreement on this, not even majority agreement on this, and consequently, trying to impose then this expectation that before we can put folks back in the public square, if you will, before entirely airing out their repentance or rehabilitation for being a war criminal, you kind of have to first establish that they in fact are war criminals and persuade at least the majority of the public that that is in fact the case, and we just haven't been able to do that. Would you agree?
Do you have to persuade the majority of Americans before you can ask questions? Is that how that works?
Well, it's not asking questions. I think what some of you are really suggesting here is that is someone like W ought not to be back in the public square on the airwaves until there's been a rehabilitation of him. And now that's several steps removed from simply asking him some questions someplace. And so I think that's entirely different from what's actually being argued here, which is we exclude people from the public square because we think they're outrageously bad people.
I don't think that's perfectly accurate. I think what we're arguing is should these types of shows that have essentially no intelligent content, right? No thought-provoking content. Essentially what these people are doing is they're going on these shows to rehab their brand without any discussion at all, right? So George W. Bush can absolutely be on any talk show he wants to be on and talk about issues that matter to George W. Bush. That's interesting, right? But it's not particularly useful to have George W. Bush singing pop songs and that sort of thing while there's this lingering stigma hanging over him that nobody is addressing, right? And so I think there's also a distinction there. Like, nobody's suggesting that George W. Bush be canceled on Twitter or anything like that at this particular moment. Somebody might suggest that later, but we are suggesting that these sort of like image rehab kind of things are not a good idea for these people who are involved in very controversial activities.
Yeah.
Well, I think first you have to establish what those standards are, and then what meets the criteria that they shouldn't be.
I think war crimes is a good starting point. Like, I think torture of people and keeping people in a prison for 2 decades with no trial is a good starting point, right? Like, and these are not controversial
but
things.
That pretty much excludes all presidents, though, doesn't it? Like, every president kind of commits war crimes.
Standards of rehabilitation or repentance. Like, you have to establish what these things are, and like, is it just good enough that they say it? How are you judging if they truly believe it or not? Like, how are you judging that they truly believe it or not? Are you just taking it at face value?
This is not like a lawyerly process, right? Where these people are going on a show where you put a shiny object over your face and sing a song. And what we're saying is that that's problematic. And I don't need to establish all that because I think it is a reasonable thing to say that if you were responsible for the deaths of a lot of people, maybe we shouldn't have you on the Happy Fun Time.
So like every president, basically.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I think that's interesting overall because, like the thing that I mentioned earlier, like and how far are like presidents like responsible for the whole party and their whole like set of values. So I can imagine that a certain president wanted to go further with like maybe with healthcare. Then I maybe think about like Obama when he was like back in the day when he was like supporting Bernie, you know. But he changed his platform to make it more like appealing to all the Democrats and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like also like when you are elected president, then you still need to you need to have like a majority of vote, and it's not like you are the president and you need to get that. No, it's like also the party machine behind that, right? So there's a lot of nuances. So to say that
the president is the commander in chief, so he has power. They have powers to do things like they don't even need Congress's authorization always, though. So I don't know about all that.
But would you say that they are solely like responsible for starting wars and that kind of stuff? That's my question. Right?
I mean, yeah, in recent times, that you could argue that like Bush fucking got into Iraq without Congress's approval for a couple months, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Bush, I would definitely make a case, but like I'm just trying to bring the nuance and like saying like politicians are always like just making these decisions on their own and that kind of shit. I think that's pretty unnuanced. But yeah.
So do we think it's safe to say that we should just avoid bringing political figures onto shows like this?
Why?
I would say so, that it's like that would be a good call, because in my country we got a person that's called Geert Wilders. He is like from the far right, and honestly, like this dude, he doesn't like to come on to any interviews. He doesn't do that at all. So he only does like the game shows. He does that. He does the interviews about his cat, all that kind of shit, you know. So I think in generally, like to have like good like political figures or people that are actually in office or running for office, that they don't come on those shows would be actually like preferable in my opinion.
Yeah.
Wait,
and
what
I think
kind of shows are we talking about? The like talk shows or like what?
No, not talk shows.
No.
Yeah, it would be like, say, singing shows, talent shows, like things that are just like meant to humanize them, or like game shows that are just like kind of silly.
Or a talk show about their cat.
Yeah, I disagree with the humanization of politicians personally.
What if my preferred presidential candidate is just like a banger cook and I want him on Iron Chef?
Gordo for president.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Like, I don't want to fucking see Obama go on to like Ellen and like talk about his fucking cats. Meanwhile, he's drone striking 1,000 people. Like,
yeah, we agree then. So
yeah. Well, what about interviews like
anyway?
What about interviews like David Letterman did an interview with Obama? Like, what about things like that? I mean, that's sort of humanizing him. They didn't exactly talk about drone strikes or push him on anything in particular.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. Like,
yeah, that is the problem.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
the problem.
sanitizing.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's only a problem to I think a relatively small number of people in the U.S. who had a real problem with Obama's airstrikes. So we keep thinking that your guys' perspectives on W and war crimes and on Obama and his airstrikes is some kind of prevailing view, and I think you are entirely in the minority, and not a small minority, and a small minority at that. And so what you're trying to do then is inject your hardly majoritarian views and very much minority views onto the rest of the public by screening who is allowed to be in the public square and who's not.
Right.
So you think
that's why? What's the point? Other than
And-
to
and- and-
satisfy
All,
your
all I'm
own
saying is, if I ran the talk
personal
show, I
need.
wouldn't let them on. That's all I'm saying. Like, I can't
Well-
like force other shows to not do it. You know.
Well, and I think that's the problem with the Giuliani question is that it is a very political question to get into. I mean, given the fact that half the country doesn't see Giuliani as like a fucking criminal for trying to pull an insurrection, like half the country doesn't see it that way. So for us to say that he shouldn't be allowed on a show like this, well, they're gonna say, oh well, AOC shouldn't be allowed on a show like this. Obviously, we have a biased perspective to it, right?
Like, okay, the only reason if I had a talk show, only reason I ever invite a politician on is to like grill them, like seriously,
Yeah.
grill them on the shit that they do. Like, that's the only reason. I wouldn't fucking talk about their fucking cats or their pets. Nah, dude, I'm
One of
asking
the
you some
things-
serious questions. Like,
One of the things that happens though is that politicians will simply not go on any talk show that has a history of grilling anyone.
oh yeah, I know
But-
that they probably wouldn't go on mine. So
Yeah. So I mean, there's an issue there, right? Like you want to get something in, but you have to also play the game, and that is one major issue with our media, especially with like these late night talk shows interviewing politicians, is that generally speaking, 90% of the interview has to be some form of hand job, right? It's like really not fair to the public, but it's the only way that any person like that would ever agree to be on one of these shows.
It is
Yeah, that's a
the
problem,
public
isn't
who
it?
Continue to tune in large numbers. The public seemingly prefers this kind of media content, right? And we can judge them as harshly as we want to, but the fact is that the majority of people continue to tune into these programs and consume that content.
And the problem is
Right.
that like we have George W. Bush on these shows, and what's happening is you keep seeing George W. Bush next to like Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, and it's George W. Bush is there to sanitize his image, right? George W. Bush knows exactly what he's doing. Jimmy Kimmel knows exactly what he's doing, and they think it's okay to do that. And we, the public, have to be vocal when we see something like that we feel is unacceptable. And it is democratic in a way, right? I agree with you. Like there are a lot of people that don't believe that George Bush was a war criminal. They think he was a president prosecuting a war, and that makes a lot of sense to me, right? When you're in a war, right, you have some duties as the commander-in-chief of the army. It's to keep as many of your own team safe as possible, et cetera. It's complicated. And so it is democratic in that way. But we, the people, have a responsibility to speak up and remind people of the perceived injustices, even if we are a minority, right? It's important for us to speak up about it.
Mhm.
well, also, I mean, depending on what type of media figure you're talking about, like, it is some of their job to like grill politicians, like whether or not like the public likes it or whatever. It doesn't matter really what the public likes. It's kind of your job to like ask them the tough questions, and it's kind of like a public service, right? Like, definitely serious journalists are supposed to do that. But, I mean, these talk shows, they're whatever, because they're just a bunch of idiots.
Right.
They just ask stupid questions.
Agreed.
But like a serious journalist, like,
The
no,
distinction.
you have to.
Yeah.
But I think it's unfortunate we have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I,
and I
I
was
was just gonna. Sorry, is that to me or to someone else? Okay, I was just gonna say that I don't necessarily blame Fox for bringing on Giuliani. Like I don't think that. I don't know who made that call. I don't know who decided to bring him on, but I'm assuming that they probably have a more rightward, like leaning political ideology, and so they probably just didn't see it as like that. In the same way, right? Yeah. You were going to say something.
I think I forgot the point.
Yeah.
No, it's like I was saying, it kind of just goes to the lane. Like I wouldn't expect like Masked Singer or X Factor or The Voice to like be grilling this controversial political figure the same way I would be expecting Larry King to. Like there's certain lanes for stuff to happen.
Well, Larry
and-
King,
Yeah,
I'm not sure Larry King was so good at grilling people. But still, like I don't. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it's interesting the lines that you guys are drawing as to who and who isn't acceptable, and like what is required for a person to like ask questions. It's not as if I don't think I'm saying that they have to be shunned from the public square, right? Like only if they haven't actually answered for the things that they've done, right? Like Giuliani, we know that like the world is aware of what he did. But if you think Giuliani, the bar is too low or too high there, right? Well then, yeah, George W. Bush, war criminal. These people say that he's a war criminal. They've made jokes about it, right? And then they invite him on the show, and he's like, "Oh, you know, he's just a painter, guys, right? And it's no big deal." I think that's a problem. I think that's a huge problem. I'd like Ellen DeGeneres, right? Like class traitor that she is. Well, not
Awful
class traitor.
human.
A gay woman invited like is now friends with George W. Bush, who was pushing the Defensive Marriage Act, right? He was like trying to he was saying that we should change our constitution so that gay marriage is not allowed. Like that guy. That guy, you got gay married, and then the guy who was consequently against it. I'm not sure if he ever apologized for that. I don't know. He said something about that, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, like that's kind of weird too. Like Cheney was like pro gay rights and gay marriage stuff. At the same time, you would say Bush was over here pushing DOMA, and like that's like how do we think of that dynamic?
I mean, I would never accuse Ellen DeGeneres of having integrity in the first place. So, like, I'm not surprised by it. She's just in it for the clout, the fame, I think. So she just invited him on just because it would like get views or whatever the fuck. Like, I don't expect that of these types of people. They're just dipshits, anyways.
What's surprising me here is the appeal to serious journalists. I think there are so few serious journalists, and that at least in the U.S., American popular news media is just shot through with clearly partisan and clearly politically partisan people who and their editors exactly the same way. And as most of you probably see Fox News, I see CNN and the big three network news broadcasts, and to a certain extent NPR. And so consequently, this appeal to serious journalists, I'm just wondering, like, do you really think they exist? And if they do, are they on a mass platform, or are these really isolated individuals that are on the fringes?
No, I know. I agree with what you're saying. Like, they're very rare actual like serious journalists. I mean, when I was saying that, I was kind of meant like relatively serious. Like, you know, like a fucking Katie Couric is relatively serious compared to fucking Ellen DeGeneres, right? Like, I was talking about. I guess I meant more like official journalists or whatever, not even talk show hosts is what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, would anybody actually want Ellen to try to facilitate a discussion with W about his, alleged war crimes, right?
Oh, are you saying that she wouldn't do a good job? Is that true?
She would be terrible at it.
I think that might be. I think that's fair. I think that's a bit.
I guess it's like that responsible platforming argument where you got to have somebody who really knows what they're talking about before you bring on like a Holocaust denier. Have somebody who knows like all the arguments. So, like, we have this conversation every Tuesday.
I feel like that one's fair. I think that's a fair criticism there. Yeah, that Ellen DeGeneres, clearly she hasn't shown herself to be
well, right. And I mean, and again, some of you guys acknowledge that presidents like W, at least you're insinuating that his motivation purely is to go and regain credibility somehow. So he goes onto these kind of friendly, folksy, fun shows. Well, that's exactly why we're not seeing him show up on these harder, more mainstream news shows is explicitly because of that.
No, I mean, I get that. Well, that's obvious. Yeah, sure. But then I'm saying that he shouldn't have those spaces as well. Yeah, because exactly, they're not going to go on these other ones. And so don't give them a port to dock in,
I hear you.
All right. Well, anyway, I think we've hit this topic hard. And we haven't gotten many subs, so I'm gonna go to bed. So I'm going to.
Ryan, this is 2 nights in a row, buddy.
I don't know.
What we were calling them last night, free riders, right?
Free riders.
Free riders in chat.
Sounds like it.
Oh man, we got a Bad Bunny situation up in here.
I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Oh,
What does that
that's
even mean?
uncool.
I'm not
That's
exactly
uncool.
sure. But let's support our friend, Not So Erudite. She's doing a whole thing on about Dr. K apparently. So the big Dr. K. So I'm gonna support her, send her some love, right? We're gonna raid her. Then we'll be back tomorrow and we'll do more stuff.